Oh, roll call first. Roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Here.
Counsel Mercier.
Here.
Counsel Milonazo.
Here.
Counsel Rourke.
Here.
Counsel Samaras.
Here.
Counsel Belanger.
Here.
Counsel Elliott.
Here.
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
9 present.
Council Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chamber for Henry G. Sykes, beloved husband to his wife Beverly, with whom he shared 63 wonderful years of marriage, and the family they raised together, Heather, Holly, Darren, and Laurel. Henry attended the Riverside School and was a 1945 graduate of Lowell High School, where he was a member of the band. Upon graduation, he entered the United States Navy and served honorably until his discharge. Henry's faith in God was the foundation of his life, from which he built everything upon. Henry belonged to the Fellowship United Methodist Church, the Centerville United Methodist Church, and the Lawrence Street Church. He was Sunday school superintendent and held many offices in the church over the years. He was a gifted soloist and a proud member of the church choirs. Throughout his professional career and his life, Henry was a tireless volunteer, board member, and chair of several local charity organizations, most notably the Salvation Army, Kiwanis, and Masons. He was a lifetime advisory board member of the Salvation Army and a bell ringer for many years. He could also be found volunteering at the St. Paul's Soup Kitchen. In 1948, Henry founded Sykes the Florist on Lawrence Street in the Wigginsville section of South Lowell. For the next 68 years, Henry worked tirelessly to grow the family business. He made lasting relationships with just about everyone who came through the front door and the greenhouse door. Besides his wife Beverly and his 4 devoted children, he is survived by his 11 adoring grandchildren. Henry George Sykes was a true gentleman and a warm and wonderful man. He had a listening heart and a gentle spirit. He lived his whole life as a Christian example for others to follow. He always said to pray, be kind, give back, live life to the fullest, love everyone, and be sure to smell the flowers along the way. We offer our sympathy to his family, relatives, and many friends. He will be truly missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Council Belanger?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'd like a moment of silence in darkened chambers for a Mrs. Marjorie A. Cullen Cook, loving mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and a well-known family from Christian Hill section of Lowell. Marjorie A. Cullen Cook, 76, a resident of Dracut, for the last 10 years died peacefully, surrounded by her loving family after a long illness on Tuesday, August 30th, at the Lowell General Hospital. She was the wife of the late James Cutter Sr., who died July 2012. Born in Lowell on March 26, 1940, she was a daughter of late John and Mary Josephine Teague Cook. Mrs. Cutter was a graduate of St. Michael's Parochial School and Lowell High School, class of 1957. She worked as a real estate agent for Dick Lapine Real Estate and also served as a tax examiner for the IRS. A longtime resident of Christian Hill neighborhood in the Centerville section of Lowell, she also resided for a long time at Lake Below in Wakefield, New Hampshire. Mrs. Cutter was a communicant of St. Michael's Church and served as a Eucharist minister for St. Francis Church in Dracut, where she delivered communion to the homebound. A devout Catholic, Marjorie went to Catholic Mass daily. She had a special devotion to our Blessed Mother at the Chapel of the Divine Mercy. She was also a hospice volunteer. Her grandparents emigrated from Ireland. She was very proud of her Irish heritage. Her family and friends will always remember Marjorie's indomitable sense of humor, and she will be sadly missed by friends and family. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Council. Okay, the first order of business is...
Excuse me, Mayor.
I'm sorry, Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If possible, I'd like to take a couple of things out of order. The first being motion 9.8 on the agenda, please.
Okay, if there's no objection, then by general consent, we'll take 9.8 out of order. Hearing no objection, 9.8 is a motion by Council Rourke, request that the City Council name the intersection of Fox and East Sixth Street after the Cullen family of Lowell for their generations of service in the United States military. Second by Council Leary. Council Rourke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to recognize Lieutenant Jack Cullen of the Lowell Police Department, who's here this evening representing the family. Mr. Mayor, the Cullen family not only has dedicated their service to the city of Lowell through 4 generations in the Lowell Police Department, but they have also served their country through many generations in the United States military. As far as I know so far, I'm sure the lieutenant can correct me, 12 men and 1 woman have served their country. The 1 woman being Mary Cullen, who served in the Navy during World War II. Throughout the wars and the conflict that the Cullen family has served in, includes World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, and Iraq. They have been on the corner of Fox and East 6th Street since before the 1940s, when Jerome Cullen, an Irish immigrant, moved to Lowell and became the first of many Cullens to join the Lowell Police Department. They have been there for so long and so community service to the city of Lowell that corner has been known as Cullen's Corner for decades now. So I think it'd be a good acknowledgement for the city of Lowell to recognize and have a ceremony and a sign on the corner of the intersection of Fox and East 6th Street in honor of the Cullen family. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Council. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion? All opposed, so voted. Council Rourke, is that all?
No, one more, please, Mr. Mayor. If we could go back to the agenda and take the presentation from DCAM to the Lowell City Council concerning the Lowell Judicial Center.
Okay, if there's no objection by general consent, we'll suspend the rules in order to take that matter out of order. Okay. Mr. Manager?
Thank you. This is an exciting time. At long last, the Judicial Center is about to begin construction. The groundbreaking is September 22nd. I don't know if you've received the invitation yet, but it'll be Thursday, September 22nd at 2 p.m. At the site of the Judicial Center. And we have here with us this evening from the Division of Capital Asset Management, Bill DeLong, and from the architectural firm that designed the building, Feingold Alexander, we have, oh boy, Tony Sau and Jeff Garriga. So if you could just come up and just give us a brief presentation, and then if the councilors have any questions, then you can take those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and members of the council. We're delighted to be here before you today on this, I think, a very auspicious and exciting project. So I think we're going to, in the interest of keeping this brief, we're going to run through what this project is about. So on the screens, we have a presentation. So, of course, we know that the city has a wonderful fabric. It's a beautiful city, and I think we really try to understand the characters of the city that really makes this the place that it is. And these are the kind of things that really we look at in the designs of the building. As we begin to look at the particulars, because it's located along a prominent area along the canal in Thorndike, Middlesex, and Jackson, this confluence of all these areas really began to inform how we shaped the building. As we began to look at this position on the site, of course, in its proximity to those intersecting forces, the building, of course, is the one that has the sort of the circle which represents the movement of the sun around it. It's about a 3.5 acre site, and it occupies this prominent sort of prow at the terminus of Jackson and Middlesex and Thorndike. As we think about the design of this building in particular, many factors weigh in. I'm not going to belabor it, except that it is a large judicial center. It is over 250,000 square feet. It's 7 stories in height, plus a full basement. In addition, it represents the courts, a judicial center of 17 courts. We have a pro se center. We have many offices. We have registry of deeds, jury pool rooms. All the things that are associated with a courthouse of this sort of magnitude are going to be brought to bear on this site. And the things that we really try to pay attention to in resolving all the complexities of solving a judicial center is how to make sure that this works. Very quickly, the things that really drove the design are several key points. One, it has to be functional. This has to really work as a courthouse. It has to be maintainable. This is going to be a building that is going to be there for a long time, so it has to withstand the ability to uphold the sort of physical and civic presence. It has to be universally accessible. This building has to be open to all, and everyone who comes to the building is treated equally, so this is a very important factor. It has to be secure. It's a courthouse, so we have to make sure it addresses those significant issues. Sustainability is also very important. This building is going to be a demonstration, high-level sustainable project which really speaks to the missions not only of the courts, but what this Commonwealth itself is at the forefront of. It is about community. This building is going to have a strong and prominent position in the city fabric, so therefore it's important that it's a good neighbor towards all the surrounding folks. And it has to have dignity. This is a civic building. It has to withstand not only the importance of what a court is about, but it has to make sure that it addresses the sense of dignity for all who enter this facility. I won't get into this. We have, as we said, the groundbreaking is in a few weeks. It is going to be going through the end of essentially the November. 2019 is the completion target date for this. So that is the outline of the next several years going forward for this project. This is very quickly, we were asked to do some shadow studies on behalf of the Park Service. These are just various things that we look at from the summertime in the morning. We look at noon, look at 3 o'clock, and then we go again towards later times of phrase. So again, these just illustrate how we analyze how shadow impacts the site. In particular, what the Park Service, especially was most interested in, was the impact on the canal. But the main thing that we really looked at is trying to understand how this really, because it is a pretty substantial sized building, what it does on the site. So these are the analysis. Of course, when we get into wintertime, this is when we have the longest shadows, but of course there are probably very few people on the canal at that time of year. So that's how we analyze a building. The site itself, as I said, is about 3.5 acres, and what really we've positioned is that the building is sort of bending towards the canal. So it will have a very prominent face as it faces the canal, so when the public comes to it, they really arrive at a civic plaza. And the whole building is surrounded by garden. There is no back to this building. So the idea is that it really has a strong civic presence on all 4 sides. We're envisioning a sort of very landscaped, treated site. We want it to also be a very sustainable site. So these are important things. And then, of course, we do have to address the access for bringing in the prisoners and bringing in the service. So those areas are also brought in off of the Jackson Street extension, but we are making sure that the building itself is also well-designed. It's integrated into the courthouse. It doesn't look like a separate building, and it's all with the intent that it is also framed into the overall context. So this is an important aspect of how we design courthouses. Other aspects we're looking at are the details, how the building relates, the use of materials, the sense of permanence, the idea that there's a civic plaza, the whole sense of areas for people to sit outside the courthouse, lighting, bikes, everything that we try to do to enhance the ability for the public to actually embrace the court building. Landscape, it's also important. We really tried to make sure that we're addressing the trees, the use of perhaps the rain garden as part of a sustainable approach. The trees themselves may be flowering, so we have difference in the way it looks. So these are also important features. We want to make sure the site is just as attractive as the building around the building. And again, I'm not going to get into the details other than just to simply explain the floor plans. On the lowest level, this is where we have what we call the service and the detainee areas in red. This is where the prisoners are brought in at the lower underground portion. And as we move up through the building levels, the main part in yellow, that's where the public comes in. And immediately on this area, we have a lot of the highly active uses for the public. And then as we move up through the various levels, we have the courtrooms beginning to move up. And the courtrooms have, as I said, 17 total courtrooms. There are a lot of transactional areas related to the courtrooms. And the area in yellow is all where the public circulates. So the public is constantly viewing towards the canal as they move through this building. And then finally, when we get to the top level, and it represents the 5 different court divisions as well, from probate, family, housing, district, and superior, and juvenile. Some of the other things that we are also looking at here, happens to be the entrance to the public lobby, is we actually are trying to engage a public art component. We want to invite artists who have an opportunity, and this is the kind of things we're looking at even in the lobby itself. So there are opportunities that we're trying to engage for engaging the local community. Ideas related to the fact that Lowell has a very important area as a civic and institutional city. It also has a strong history in the mills and the idea of tapestry. So the walls lining the core public lobbies have this sort of tapestry effect, but done in stone. We're trying to respect the local history of this wonderful community. The courtrooms themselves will be gracious, they will have all natural light, and they will have handsome use of materials, and they'll have a sense of dignity and permanence. And then these last few images here simply show the relationship of the court as viewed from, this is kind of a bird's eye view looking at the corner here, and you can see the building as it's positioned right at the rotation where the canal bends along the edge. This is a view as one looks up Middlesex Street, and you can see the court just peeking up at the far left beyond the brick building and behind that smokestack area. This is a view more from Thorndike. And this shows you, of course, this is eventually going to change, but this shows you how the building is looked as you approach it along Thorndike. Coming up to the corner here at Thorndike, this shows, again, the position of the building. And it has, again, it's not a small building, but it has an important presence on the site. And I think it will generate a quite, I think, we hope, a civic presence. And as we get closer to the building, one of the things I should mention is that, and this is along Jackson Street, that the materials of the building, we wanted to really pay respect to Lowell. So the idea, we're going to use a masonry-like granite cladding the courtroom areas. We have the use of a lot of natural light, windows, transparency, framing. So we want to respect the material palette, the coloration, and the idea that it really does respect the community itself. And as we come up Middlesex Street here, this is as if you were eventually coming from the train station, perhaps, or from walking up Middlesex, but it shows you, again, the buildings as it relates to the corner. And then finally, when we get to the corner itself along the canal, here you see, this is shown as sort of a dusk view, but that, again, the building has a strong frame view and a physical presence towards the canal. So the idea is that we're going to create a very open public building that addresses not only the nature of what a courthouse is about, but also creates a strong civic presence and begins to, we hope, will really help to energize and enhance this community as it continues to develop. So with that, that is really the conclusion of our presentation today.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the city councilors? Council Rourke.
Thank you, sir. Just a general overview of the timeline.
Of the timeline.
Construction will start in earnest next month, and then 36 months of construction after that. So November 2019 is substantial completion.
All set. Any other questions? If not, thank you very much. Being a little bit before 7 o'clock, we can, we'll skip, I'm sorry. Under the city clerk, the first order would be the minutes of the Economic Development Subcommittee on August 23rd, the minutes for the City Council meeting of August 23rd, the minutes of the Ad Hoc Subcommittee for Charter Changes and Election Issues on September 6th, and the Public Safety Subcommittee of September 6th, all of those minutes for acceptance. Do we have a motion to approve all of those minutes and place them on file? We have a motion approved by Council Leary, seconded by Council Samaras. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Being before 7 o'clock, we'll move on to the communications from the city manager. The first communication from the city manager is regarding Andover Street. Is there any discussion regarding Andover Street? Council Leahy.
Thank you. Just after reading the report, I had spoken to the manager. So just to take a look to see if we can investigate putting a couple more crosswalks in the meantime, and if we could get an estimate on cost for that, and because that would look like that would be the quickest solution for that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? If not, we'll move on to item B, which is painting the crosswalks prior to the school year. Any discussion on item B? Hearing none, we'll move on to item C, crosswalks on Middlesex Street. Any discussion regarding crosswalks on Middlesex Street? Hearing none, we'll move on to the Hebert dedication. Any discussion on that report? If not, we'll move on to the Lord dedication. Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In regards to the Al Hebert dedication, and I know the next one is going to be Lord mine. The last Wednesday in the month is the time, August 31st, that the Board of Parks held their meeting. Anything that we discuss here and approve, the Board of Parks, their decision supersedes any of ours. So I did have an occasion to speak on behalf of this motion, which was Councilor Rodney Elliott's motion. I did speak to Al Hebert's son, Al, and he said that where he was very close to Ray Willett, and the two of them were like, Mike and Jeff, they were always together, you didn't see one without the other. He thought that they could probably revise that, and they voted to support naming a portion of stone near Acropolis Road after the two of those gentlemen. So the Board of Parks approved that. The Board of Parks approved the next item that we will be discussing.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on item D? If not, we'll move on to item E, which is the Lord dedication. Councilor Mercia? Did you want to speak on this?
No, but the Board of
Okay.
Parks did approve that as well. Thank you.
Okay.
And Tom Belgard is here, the commissioner. When we have the date set for the event ceremony, we will let the council know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further discussion on this, we'll move on to item F, which is the school grounds care. Councilor Leahy.
Thank you. Sure, so on this one, I got the report, and what I wanted to do is, the recommendation is a good one here, to send this to an appropriate subcommittee. So I don't know, and I could ask your advice, Mr. Mayor, which subcommittee you think would meet with the school side, but basically what, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. We have a lot of new people involved, the school side and city side.
I think we have a subcommittee for municipal facilities,
Sure.
and
yeah.
I think that the school committee has a similar subcommittee for, so that might be a
Yeah.
good spot to send it.
Okay. I think it's just important to go over this. I was over at the high school for some personal matters for my kids, and, we spent some money putting floors in over there, and a couple of floors have buckled, so I would think we'd want to get the manufacturer in before damage occurs to the floor. I thought maybe we were going to get a little bit more painting done, and they told me that they did a lot of work on the HVCs this year. So it'd be good that everybody's on the same page. We can understand where we're heading, what our goals are, because obviously we want the schools to look good on the inside and the outside, so that the kids and the staff that work there have same respect for the buildings that we should have. So that would be the purpose of meeting, and trying to get everybody that's new, city side and school side, on the same page, and try to cut through, just try to get a lot of projects done that have been lingering. Thank you.
Okay, so would you like to make a motion, Councilor Leahy, to
Sure.
refer this to that subcommittee for further discussion?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, and that motion is seconded by Councilor Leahy. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Any further discussion on school grounds care? If not, then we'll move on to the sustainable solution to panhandling chronic homelessness. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think every city councilor has had a motion relative to panhandling. So this report really responds to all of the councilors' requests relative to panhandling. I believe it was Councilor Samaras who asked that we have a commission relative to panhandling. We did convene that commission, and we came up with an idea that we should have a public awareness campaign to try and eradicate the panhandling in the city. And Ashley Hilson from our office, a UMass student who is working as an intern with us, came up with what I think is a great public awareness campaign. The presentation is in your package. What I'd like to do, though, is to have it referred to the appropriate subcommittee where we can give a full presentation on the panhandling public awareness campaign. But I think it's great she came up with a new slogan for it that we're going to be publicizing is use your change for change. What we're basically going to be doing is educating people to say, you know, it doesn't really do any good to give the individual panhandlers money. It's not going to a good use if you just give it to them. But if you give it to a charity of your choice, or the choices that we're going to give, then it'll be much more helpful towards people who are panhandling. So with that, we're going to ask that the presentation be referred to a subcommittee, and we'll have Ashley give a complete presentation of that subcommittee.
All right, do we have a motion referred to Councilor Samaras?
Just a comment, I want to thank the city manager for this report. I think all of us as city councilors, we've asked the city to deal with the panhandlers. At the same time, we've asked that they be dealt with in such a way that they receive some type of help. And I think sometimes what our biggest problem is, a lot of people from the outside just don't understand what is going on. But I think this is clear that as a city council, we want to deal with the issue of panhandling. At the same time, we want to ensure that they receive the type of help that they might need. And I think this is the type of direction as a city we should go in. So thank you for this report.
Any further discussion? Councilor Elliott, then Councilor Belanger.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thanks to you, Mr. Manager, and your staff for coming up with a comprehensive approach, a different approach, I think a good approach to address the issues of both panhandling and homelessness. You know, this motion was filed a number of months ago, and you didn't rush into this just to come back. We've tried the ordinance, and that's been struck down. So another approach is, I mean, the bottom line is we're looking to help people. We understand that they're out there. Some people are out there, in my opinion, because they need money. Things don't, you know, ends don't meet the means that they have, whether it's Social Security or a retirement, and they just don't have enough money, so they go out in the street and they panhandle. There are others that, again, in my opinion, are out there because of whether it's a challenge or whatever the case may be. That being said, it's a concern to the people in Lowell, and I think there are some very good recommendations here that we should explore and discuss at great length or at further length in subcommittee. I like the approach that we are trying to help people, and we're trying to help them by discouraging giving them money on the street. So I have a motion that takes this just another step further, that the mayor in Albuquerque, New Mexico has met with great success, and I'll talk about that later, but I want to thank you for being thorough in going through how we can address this. And I think we're going to meet with some success. I do think that if people know what is out there, what is available, and that there is another avenue to, you know, to get money, to get funds for basic necessities of life, I think it's going to be a success. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was at the commission's unveiling of this new initiative, and I believe it's an outstanding initiative that could set a precedent here in the Commonwealth on this issue where everyone is hit hard. It's not just a Lowell issue. It's around the Commonwealth. It's around the country. So I want to congratulate the manager and his administration for a lot of thorough, thought-out hard work here. But I want to make it abundantly clear to the public and the folks at home that the City of Lowell's message is not going to be don't give. Okay, we're going to encourage you to give to local charities that helps the social services, that helps these individuals. It's far better off than giving to individual panhandlers. Now, I believe there is sufficient evidence that, you know, when an individual gives to a panhandler, that in many cases we are enabling them rather than helping them. Many, but not all, I'm not saying all, but many suffer from substance abuse, drugs, or alcohol. In many cases, that money goes towards unfortunately, some very bad things. And there's sufficient evidence of that when the manager and the administration and the police and social workers visit homeless encampments that are under bridges throughout the city that we have spent to the tune almost $100,000 in the last few months to clean up. Syringes, liquor bottles, and other blankets and whatnot. So I believe, and others, that, many cases that we're just enabling these individuals, that and going to drug and alcohol use. So I think it's a great initiative where we can market it properly and execute it properly. It will be a very, very effective initiative that we can encourage residents to give to local charities, to whether it's the food bank or the shelter that helps these individuals recoup and get back on their feet. So I look forward to referring this to a subcommittee for further discussion, and I think it's going to be well received. So again, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Council. If there's no further discussion, Chair would suggest that it go to the Downtown Development Subcommittee, if there's no objection from the Chair. And so do we have a motion to do that? Okay. And Councilor Elliott, would it be, it probably makes sense to send your motion to that subcommittee as well? Okay. So, so the manager's report and Councilor Elliott's motion would both go to that subcommittee. We have a motion to that effect, seconded by Councilor Leahy, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Discussion on the motion.
So we're going to take my motion up under motions, or we're going to take that up now, because I want to speak on my
Why
motion.
don't you speak on it right now before we
Sure.
take this vote?
Is the clerk going to read the motion?
Oh, I'll read the motion, I'm sorry. Request that the city manager look into there's a better way program to help address panhandling and homelessness issues in the city. It doesn't need a second because it's going to the subcommittee, so.
Okay. All right, so, again, sort of just dovetailing or taking the issue a step further, there's a program, it's called the There's a Better Way program, and it has been run for the last year. I actually spoke to the mayor's office in Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is where the program originates. And for years, just like Lowell, there are other cities across the country that have been frustrated with how to address homelessness and certainly panhandling. So Mayor Berry of Albuquerque, him and his administration came up with an idea, and I think it's a good idea, Mr. Manager, worthy of looking into. And it'll be a year next year, according to the mayor's office, that this program, There's a Better Way, has been implemented. And the crux of the program is they hire panhandlers for day jobs, 2 days a week. It's funded through the city at a marginal cost. They partner with local nonprofits that serve the homeless population. There is a van that is dispatched around the city, literally to pick up panhandlers, ask them if they are interested in working. The job pays $9 an hour, which is above minimum wage. They provide lunch at the end of the shift. These participants are offered shelter, a place to sleep, and food. So the first year, there were funds left over from their general fund, and they appropriated $50,000 to pay up to 10 panhandlers to go out and work and do, whether it's cleaning up neighborhoods or whatever. On a daily basis, they will dispatch according to DPW where they should go and, perhaps provide a service, and they're paid. They're paid, when they're done working. So it's an opportunity that there's no requirement, but it's a program that connects panhandlers first to a job and then to potential services to get them into a shelter and then get them into housing. So I think it's worthy of success. So the second part of this is this year they have private companies looking to hire people that are willing to do manual labor. So I know we all talk about, I certainly do, I've heard they don't have a job, they need a job, they need to, a lot of these people would like to work. Here is a program, costs very little money, that may help address and connect, first give them a job and connect them to to services, so it'll prevent them from being homeless. So that's the essence of the motion. I will forward the link from the mayor's office. They worked through a contract through St. Martin's Church in New Mexico, and it's been very successful. So thank you for taking it up now, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a good segue for what we have been doing and the potential for using, whether it's block grant money or other resources, to see if a pilot program may or may not work. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Is there any further discussion on the motion to refer both of these matters to the subcommittee? Hearing none, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. The next item is the intersection of Mammoth Road and Pawtucket Boulevard. There's a report on that. Is there any discussion on that report? Mr. Manager, did you want to speak on that report?
Yes, thank you, Mr. May. Basically, Nick Bossinetto, our traffic engineer, and Mike McGovern, the assistant city manager, went out and viewed the intersection. I know the Mass Department of Transportation is going to be making some signalization changes at that intersection that should help out with any traffic issues. But we didn't find that the line queued back far enough to prohibit any parking along the street. And it's a very, very robust business corridor there on Mammoth Road, and the customers need a place to park. So we're keeping the on-street parking that it is there right now, and hopefully there will be no issues relative to traffic. Well, there's always going to be issues relative to traffic, but hopefully the signalization will help alleviate any concerns about the traffic in that area.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any further discussion on this matter? If not, we'll move on to the report regarding the Granite United Church use of the Sullivan School. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me begin with a full disclosure that my family's family home is right across the street from the Sullivan School, but I have been getting calls, as I know Councilor Leahy has as well, relative to the church renting the school. And again, I think it comes down to quiet enjoyment in the neighborhood. On the report, I appreciate the report. It indicates that 50 to 60 parishioners, if you will, go to the church. In the very beginning, there were many, many cars parked by the Sullivan School. They also put signs up around the neighborhood. In fact, I saw one, actually litter, if you will, over by Market Basket today on Clark Road, again, off in the bushes. But every Sunday morning, they go and they put signs out, sandwich board signs, which in my opinion is again just visual litter in the neighborhood. They also play music, which is quite loud, and the neighbors at the end of Draper Street have complained about the loud music as well. And I understand from the report that it's really not within our purview relative to what goes on, but I just think that this council, who's received calls relative to the church being there, and again, the peaceful, quiet enjoyment of that neighborhood on a Sunday morning is being interrupted. So again, I appreciate the report. I don't know if there's anything this council can do, but it's something that was really, in my opinion, has become a nuisance in the neighborhood.
Mr. Manager.
I think what we could do is maybe go over and do some enforcement relative to noise, if they're too loud, if they're parking illegally, if they're putting up signs. So is this on Sunday morning?
Sunday morning. Right, they arrive around 8:30, and they finish up around 11:30.
All right, we'll have somebody from the buildings department go out there to observe what's going on, and from the police
As you can see from
department.
Granite State, it's a church, and I've Googled it, it's a church that's growing. They're out of New Hampshire, and now they have a Merrimack Valley chapter here in Lowell. And in the beginning, there were probably, I'd venture to say probably more like 60 or 70 cars, but now there's probably more like 20, 25 cars, because it just hasn't, in my opinion, been a successful venture. So they may not even be there next year. But again, it has certainly interrupted that neighborhood.
We'll definitely go out and do the enforcement with the police and with the building
Thank you.
department.
Counselor, I would suggest it might be worth sending this to the school committee too, to see if the superintendent can do something about that. Maybe they can discuss it. I mean, if there is a lull in attendance, it could be just because we've gone through the summer months, and that sometimes happens, and so that it might pick up again in September. So I'm not sure that that'll be the answer, but it's probably worthwhile doing that. If there's no objection, we could. Okay. Councilor Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While we're on the subject of schools and permits, Councilor Mercier and I have a motion. If we could take it now, I think it'd be just 9.7.
Okay, if there's no objection, We'll suspend the rules one more time to take up item 9.7 by general consent. Counsel Leahy?
Yeah, could I just weigh in before we get to the new motion?
Absolutely.
So, I guess what we're looking for is the schools to take in consideration when they do rent out the auditorium or the cafeterias, to consider the neighborhoods and how loud the events are gonna be, how congested, how much traffic, the day of the week, things like that. So that's what the neighbors are asking for, in any neighborhood. Just that their nights or their weekends aren't interrupted by loud music or a lot of congestion, or, the kids are out and they're playing and a lot of traffic. So these are things, even though some of the money, that's being taken in, looks like it's probably helping, but we have to balance that with the being a good neighbor in the neighborhood.
Okay.
So, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're taking motion 9.7 out of order. 9.7, which doesn't require a second since it's co-sponsored, reads that the request that the City Council revisit the process for permitting after-school programs and focus on whose authority it is to issue permits, what is the appeal process for denial of permits, and if needed, establish an ad hoc committee to oversee the permitting. Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to my colleagues for suspending the rules, because we have a speaker that's going to speak on this motion, and he has another engagement. But we just received a report through this issue about permitting schools, and we received the report from Superintendent of Schools Salah Kelfawi about how Gary Frisch, the school business administrator, addresses school rental issues. And I want to take this issue a bit further and specifically find out who is responsible for the protocol on issuing permits for after-school programs. I want to know how people with no connections to the Lowell public school system have, year after year, the freedom to be given carte blanche without even putting in a request for a permit, while a local baseball group gets denied a permit over this particular group. I don't understand how that is happening. This motion is aimed at fixing much of the problems that have arisen each year with no recourse. As to help find solutions, people in sports teams have been denied permits, are never given a chance to appeal and plead their cases. Why are people not given a chance to explain the circumstances? I firmly believe that there is a need to form a committee to oversee any and all issues associated with the permitting process for the after-school programs. And my colleague Danny and I put this motion, and if my colleague has any comments about it, and I know there's a registered speaker.
Council Rook.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be very brief. Just, who gives the permits out? The reason why a permit would be denied. I think we visited this well over a year ago, and it's continues to happen. So, obviously agreeing with Council Mercer 100% to see how the process works and how it can be fixed. And I know that Mr. Rudy is here to speak on it as well. That could probably give a first couple of examples of what's going on. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Council Samaras.
No, I just want to state, I think this is a very good motion. As the former headmaster of the high school was always a place that was well sought after. But there were cases and times when groups that really had nothing to do with the educational system or helping the educational system seemed to have first access over some of the areas. And I really think that in part of this, it should be a request that before any building is rented out, that the principal of that building be included in the process as to what programs will come into his or her building. I think it's that important. I think it's a good motion. Thank you.
Okay, is there any further discussion? We have Mr. Rudy, did you want to speak on the motion?
Hi, Keith Rudy, 28 Halley Road, Lowell. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Manager, and City Council. Thank you, Rita and Dan, for sponsoring us. I have been part of the Acre Youth Organization for over 30 years. Mostly we're doing baseball. The last 10 years we've been doing basketball. Got up to a pretty good start, but it kept on expanding. We started with 60 youth, and last year I think we had around close to 300. Naturally, the facilities are important to us because they're during the winter months. And so we normally would use the Bartlett School when we first started. And the Bartlett School, if you've ever been up there, is probably one of the biggest courts in the city. So when we put the divider there, we can run 2 programs, 2 games at one time. Again, all my coaches and my staff are all volunteers. Nobody gets paid, including some of the counselors. But so for some reason, when we went for a permit the following year, we were told that we couldn't have the permit any longer. And I said, why is that? They said, well, the ecumenical lead or other leads were getting it. They were outside the neighborhood. They weren't even neighborhood kids. So my kids were forced to sit out that year. The following year, they said, okay, you can now have the other schools, which is the Merkland School. It's an elementary school. The court is very small, can only be used for elementary kids. And the program runs for between kids 6 and 14. So we could use them for the younger kids. We couldn't use them for the older kids. The court's not wide enough. It's not long enough. And so there'd be a lot of physical activity. So we're trying to stay away from that with the older kids. And then the following year, and any time we've had any incidents in the schools, and it's likely to happen. I have plenty of chaperones and coaches, so we're watching making sure the kids are where they're supposed to be and the parents are where they're supposed to be. We're using the gymnasium in the bathrooms only. Most of the schools are pretty much locked down. So when we have any issues, right away we're called the next day by the principal. We go in there, we talk it out, and we straighten it out to make sure that we take care of the situation extremely quick. If it means telling the parents they're not coming back or removing the kids, which we hate to do, we do what we have to do to make sure we're following the protocol in the rules of the schools, or the permits. Well, one year I suppose we had an incident at one of the schools, and the following year we put out all dates together. I secured a Shannon grant to help support it, and before we knew it, we were denied our permit. I asked the principal why. She wouldn't give me a reason why. She said, because I have the authority to do it. And I said, excuse me, I have over 150 kids. We've already got our dates approved. I got a Shannon grant. She said, no, you had an incident last year. It was last year. And it was a misunderstanding. We found out through the help of a school committee person, we found it was a misunderstanding. It wasn't our group at all. Well, when I went back to get my dates, the dates had been given away. So I had 150 kids at home watching people from other neighborhoods come in and using their facilities because of a misunderstanding. There's a flaw in the system. In the process now, there is a flaw. There is no protocol on whether or not a neighborhood group organization gets it before a non-neighborhood group. It's like first come, first serve, or maybe who you know. I don't know. So last year, we went back to try to get the same permit, and again, we were denied. Whatever reason, I have no clue. The principal refused to meet with me. Again, through contacting some city officials, we were able to straighten it out, and we have a secure all dates. And again, we had around 250 kids, including a lot of our local police officers who are coaches. So what we're trying to do, the ultimate achievement there, what we're trying to achieve, as you know, the Acre is a very diverse neighborhood. So we integrate all these children on each other's teams. They become friends. The parents sit next to each other. They start talking to each other. We're building a community here. And this is a foundation of helping these kids, of trying to hopefully stay out of gangs, hopefully stay away from drugs. But we can't do this. We can't do this without facilities. So I just think that I would like to be part of any process that we have, Mr. Mayor, and I'm not sure, I started studying a little bit, I shouldn't say study, but looking at the Education Reform Act of 1993, which is constantly quoted to me. It's like 2 telephone books. I mean, if you ever read the Education Reform Act, and it doesn't really come down to what actually states that the school authority has the right to issue a deny permit. And once you're denied a permit, there is no appeal. There's no appeal process. So I thank the councilors, Mercier and Rourke for sponsoring it, and Mr. Samaras, who was in the schools and knows how important it is, to have these facilities utilized by the neighborhood groups. And I'd appreciate any action the council can give me, and if it comes under jurisdiction of the school committee, I want to speak before them. And I just come here hoping that you can give us the tools that we need in the neighborhood to put our kids in a positive environment. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, thank you. If there's no further discussion, the chair would suggest that maybe this should go to the Municipal Facilities Subcommittee as well. And that subcommittee, if they wish, could meet with the school committee subcommittee, the corresponding subcommittee, if they chose to do that. Councilor Rourke?
Could we get a response first, Mr. Mayor, just to see what the answer is to the motion first before we send it to a subcommittee? Yeah, is that possible? Or,
Sure. So you just want to send it to the city manager for now?
Please.
Okay. Okay, so Councilor Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What you just heard should never have happened in the city of Lowell. Should never, ever have happened. And I'm very upset to hear that we have a person that has a crew of people willing to volunteer, seeking grants, and they have to be on the outside looking in while another group has no business in that neighborhood is in, and it's, what you just heard is an injustice, and I'm not happy with that. And motion is trying to correct this. And I don't know why a principal to a school has so much authority to say, I don't have to tell you what the reason is, when this probably principal doesn't even live in the city of Lowell to begin with. And I don't know what gives the principal a right to think that they're responsible for the school. I thought a public building was owned by the taxpayers, that it's our school, it's everybody's school, not a principal's school that doesn't even live in the city of Lowell. So that's my beef, and I want it corrected so that we don't have to hear this again. That's not right what we heard.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on this? If not, all in favor? Counselor Samaras, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, this is not a simple solution. In regard to when I said the principal should be asked, the principal is responsible for that building 24/7 and the children that are in it. But the issue is that there are so many people looking for so little space in this city. And there are so many people, just that it was explained now, doing such good work and important work and and helping the quality of life in the city. So it's not a simple process, but I think this has to be sent to a joint committee. And this has to be looked at in such a way where there's a process. What's happened? The process isn't working. The principal shouldn't be the sole decision maker, but he or she is responsible for the building. But it should be something with working with the city, with the parks, with the school department, and with the various organizations that are in the city. And what it is, neighborhoods, if you're in the neighborhood should have a priority. There are certain type of activities that should have a priority over other activities. But sometimes leaving it just to one person make the decision, or making the decision on an as-need basis, just doesn't work out. It angers a lot of people. So I think there has to be a little more thought put into this about developing a process that people could understand and work with. Because no one should have to go through the idea, well, I don't have to tell you why or whatever. That's not any type of an answer that I would say was satisfactory. But the thing is, people should know what opportunities that they have, what steps they have to take in order to develop programs for the children in Lowell, because they're our first priority. It's a good motion, but I'm just saying, be cautious on the process. That's what needs to happen. It's the process. It's not a blame game. It's about doing it the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Leary.
Wasn't going to weigh in, but I think it's important. I think the issue you were talking about, actually, I was the official that helped you work the process out, and the process really came down to communication. So I think the motion is a good motion. I think having both, once you work out, the issues that the motion specifically addressed, Mr. Manager, having that conversation. Because really, when you actually sat down with the principal's like, you are a good group. In fact, most of the children, the folks that were in, Keith's league were actually his students. So I think a lot of it's miscommunication. I think sometimes folks, principals, what have you, they're busy, they make mistakes. And I think in this issue, it came right down to, hey, these are my students in this district. And now I sat down with you and had that conversation. It alleviates a lot of the issues. But again, I think the motion's good and definitely going to support it. I think it'll definitely, in the long run, take away this issue. And as I think Councilor Milanowski was talking about, the church group that's using the Sullivan School, it's an interesting part. Well, who are we letting into the facilities and why? I think a lot of it generates around they need revenue. So having an open discussion regarding that, I think, can only be a positive thing going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on the motion to send this to the city manager for a report and recommendation? If not, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Going back to the communications from the city manager. Item J is the Cop Sync alert system. Any discussion on the Cop Sync alert? Councilor Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This Cop Sync 911 has a little bit of history here. Just for an overview, Cop Sync 911 is a security communication alert system for the Lowell Public Schools. So for the intruder enters any of Lowell Public Schools with some sort of a weapon, the police can be informed almost immediately. And we are under law, Mass General Laws, Chapter 71, Section 37, effective 7/1/2015, states, requires schools to have a two-way wireless system with ability to alert police and firefighters in the event of such an emergency. Now, I see Captain Webb is here in the attendance. Mr. Mayor, through you, I'd like to invite Captain Webb up to the podium, please. Deputy, thank you for attending. Now, I know you've been working diligently on this issue, Deputy, and we appreciate your efforts. But I was notified a few months ago from an individual who represents CopSync that, says that this seemed to have gone by the wayside. Now, according to the motion response, you are indicating that CopSync 911 did not receive a contract for this. Is that accurate?
That's correct, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, all right. Okay, the CopSync 911 representative emailed me a video dated May 19th, 2015 of the school committee hearing where it was approved by the Lowell School Committee. So with that being said, well, secondly, I asked, do we have anything in place right now in the Lowell Public Schools? Any sort of two-way alert system in the school system as we speak, Mr. Deputy?
No, not that I'm aware of.
We do not. Okay, so it is not the police department's responsibility, but the City of Lowell schools are out of compliance as we speak. Okay, there is no security system in place. What seems to be me, now, I did not shop around, I was not at that school committee hearing, but for the cost of approximately $70,000 to a $160 million budget for 29 schools does not seem like a lot of money to me. And CopSync 911 has thrown in a few extras where the software and the cruisers will be installed for free. That sounds like a pretty good deal to me. I don't know, I haven't shopped around, but it seems like a small price to pay for an effective security system which covers all of our schools. So I don't know what's going on here. I'm getting conflicting reports. Deputy, thank you for all your research. You worked diligently on this issue, and it seems like you're in support. You and the department do approve of the system. You viewed it with the representative. You think it would be effective for the schools, it seems. But this seems to have gone by the wayside. So what I'd like to do, Mr. Mayor, through you to the city manager, is refer it back to you, and can you please research the school committee's vote back in May of 2015, see what happened. I was informed months ago that from a school department official that it was approved and money was appropriated. This motion response contradicts that. So something needs to get done for the Lowell Public Schools, for safety concerns of our kids in 29 schools that we have where nothing's in place as we speak. So, Mr. Mayor, through you, instead of referring it to a subcommittee, I'd like to task the manager with it to research what is going on here. I don't have an answer now, but I don't like that the Lowell school system is out of compliance as we speak. Okay. So that would be great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Deputy, for all your work. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other discussion on the Councilman Monazo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I certainly appreciate Council Belanger bringing this to the attention of the City Council and the good work of Deputy Superintendent Webb. My question is, did it go through a public procurement process and got in front of the Lowell School Committee? And they actually, we don't know at this point. Okay. So I guess I'll wait for the report. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so, Council Leahy.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that, thank you to Council Belanger for following up on this. It seems like a really good program that we should be in. And it's too bad that the city manager has to keep getting involved in city school policy issues. But, this is important, so if we get to the bottom of it, that would be great. Thank you.
Any further discussion on this? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the Lord Overpass cleanup. Any discussion on the Lord Overpass cleanup? Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. I want to thank the city manager for this report. It's a complete report, but what the report talks about in cleaning up some of the issues that are created by the homeless. It speaks to what a problem, how extensive a problem this is. When we talked about the lot overpass, I made an assumption that it was all public land, but we found out that it was also private land where many of the homeless were living. And with the work of the city manager and his people, they worked with Clear Channel to develop the funds to clean up this area. But what this report addresses is that heavy equipment was needed to actually clean up the site in an adequate manner. So it really speaks to how dangerous some of these areas become after the homeless have been there an extended period of time. My concern was I saw on many occasions, being near there, young adults or middle school students walking through the area, and it became a very dangerous area. We have some of these issues with the homeless in our parks, and we have to ensure that what we're doing is, one, finding a way to put our homeless into areas where they can be safe and where they can have a bed to sleep in, and a place that is safe. And at the same time, we can't allow these conditions to exist. So I want to thank you for the report, but it does speak to a bigger problem. It speaks to the problem created in these areas. And I don't have an answer. I know there's no easy answer, but the answer is to ensure that our homeless are taken care of and that we don't have areas that get so out of control where it's almost impossible to clean up or so costly to clean up that it makes it quite difficult. I know we just had a recent report that talked about the costs that we would incur in some of these cleanups. It's not an easy request that I'm making, Mr. Manager, but it's something that we have to keep looking at and just see if we can find better ways to deal with two issues: safety of the homeless, but safety of our children using our parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on this? Councilor Belanger.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do appreciate the motion response, as well as Councilor Samara stated. But, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. Now, Mr. Manager, it bears mentioning here that Clear Channel, which is a company that owns the advertising boards throughout the city for the most part, I understand paid a tidy sum of money for this cleanup at that site. Is that accurate?
Yes, it was. I went there myself to visit the spot. As you're coming up the Lod overpass from Fletcher Street, is down to the right is where this homeless camp was, and it was actually it's in a deep hole, and they had to get backhoes to get down there to clear out all of the trash and other things that down there. It was a mammoth undertaking by Clear Channel.
What was spent? Do you know dollar amount, Mr. Manager?
I don't have the exact figure, but the one that we had for 19 grand, that had to have cost at least $50,000.
Yeah. Based upon what we have paid to clear up anything, we estimate it cost about $50,000 for Clear Channel to clean up the Lod overpass area.
And that's on top of what the city has done in the last 60, 90 days on two other sites to the tune of $80,000, $90,000. So these homeless encampments are a serious financial burden, as you can see. And this is just in the last 60 or 90 days. So just think throughout the course of the year. So we look forward to working more on this issue, as Councilor Samara stated, but this is becoming very, very costly for the city and to the private sector as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Leahy.
I just wanted to add one thing too, that, not only this site, but other sites around the city, there's got to be some help from the federal government. They've got to get involved. This isn't just a problem in Lowell, it's around the country. And with the presidential election, you don't hear them talking about this, but it's a major issue. And it's costing us a lot of money to keep this stuff clean. And just the other day, I was on Gorham Street, and someone came into a local restaurant and pointed out that they found a needle, and they came out and they got some gloves and stuff to pick it up. But, it spills over into the sidewalks of the other neighborhoods. So, this might be a good issue to bring up with Congresswoman Saunders and speak to her on this too. So, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion on this? If not, we'll move on to the next items are informational. The first one is Civic Ready. Mr. Manager?
Thank you. I just want to announce for the City Council and the viewers at home that we are updating our website. We're creating a new one. We've hired a company known as Civic Plus that is going to give us a much better website than we have right now, and it's actually going to cost less than what we're paying right now. But as part of updating that website, we're going to be moving away from the Code Red alert system, and we're going to be moving into what's known as the Civic Ready alert system. You're familiar with this. If there's a parking ban or if there's extreme weather coming in, is that you'll get the alert. And what we've done is we've imported all of the numbers that are currently existing on Code Red into the Civic Ready aspect of this alert system, but we are asking residents, just to make sure, to sign up on Civic Ready. And you can just go right onto our website and link in and put in your information, whether you want it on your landline, whether you want it on your cell phone, whether you want it on your email, however you want to be alerted. But the new one is going to be Civic Ready, and we're just asking all the residents to go on our website and put in where you want those alerts to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Any further? Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the manager. For instance, can I sign up for my elderly mother at my house, put her address down and put, say, a telephone number, and then from my own residence, I could sign up and have an email address or a cell phone? So we can, because elderly people probably would need some assistance signing up.
Absolutely, and actually, you can go right onto their website.
Okay.
It's on the report. It's Civic. It's www.lowellcivicready.com, and you can sign up for the alerts to go to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Council Leary, then Council Blanchard.
Just quickly, I think that a great idea, but I also should reach out to the senior center and other groups to make sure. I think Councilor Milonazo's point is an excellent one. Some folks are going to need assistance with it, reaching out to different groups with different, different languages, what have you. But I think it's a great idea, and I think our website has a lot of information, as you and I have discussed many times, Mr. Manager. But putting it in a format that's actually user-friendly will be a major benefit. So I think looking forward to seeing this. I think it'll be a good thing for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Blanchard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm in agreement with my colleagues. I certainly view this as an upgrade emergency alert system, so I think it's great. But, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, now, how about the folks at home, Mr. Manager, who may not have a landline phone? As we know, they're becoming less and less popular with the use of cell phones, but for the elderly residents and disabled, what other means can you communicate if people don't have landline phones at home? Like via cell phones or email or whatnot as well?
Well, they can do it. Mr. Manager. You can get it through texts. You could get it through an email. Any of those vehicles that they.
And there's other vehicles besides landlines.
Absolutely, yeah. You can,
I was asked
on your
that today, right?
smartphone, you can have a text, you can have an email, however you want to do it.
Okay, well, that's great. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on this? If not, then we'll move on to the Fire Department Performance and Management Study. Mr. Manager.
Well, what we've been doing is we've been doing management reviews of different departments. Since I became city manager, we've done the treasurer's department. As you know, we've done the police department in the past, and we thought this was a great opportunity with a new chief coming on to do a review of the fire department. We've included that report in the council agenda. I'm accusing Jeff Winwood of issuing that report on his own. It's so positive for the fire department. But what we'd like to do is we would like to give a complete presentation on this report, and we think, again, that the best way to do this would be to give that report at a subcommittee. So we were asking that this report be referred to the proper subcommittee so that we can do a complete report on the management review of the fire department.
Motion to refer this matter to the Public Safety Subcommittee, seconded by Council Blanchard. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Moving on, we have Lowell Stat Library Public Report. Mr. Manager.
Basically, what we do is, on a monthly basis, we take a department and we look at different statistics relative to it, and it's a good way to do a performance measurement of what they're doing well, what they're doing not so well. And this is the report from the library. As you can see, their circulation is doing quite well. And we think it's a very positive report, but we're just including it as an informational item for the councilors.
Any discussion on item O? Councilman Malinowski.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. Does it make sense to have this report referred to the Pollard Library Board of Trustees, just for their information, or has it already gone to them?
That's a great idea. We can't guarantee that it's gone to them, so I will make sure. Okay, Mrs. Moynihan is saying it has gone to the real city manager, saying it's gone to the Board of Trustees, and so it has gone to them.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, any further discussion on this item? If not, the final item is handicap parking in Avenue A. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to accept and place on file all of the communications from the city manager. We have a motion by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Rourke to do that. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Council.
before we get into the public hearings, could I suspend the rules and allow a motion 9.5 to get in? There's a speaker here, and I don't want to hold her here hostage all night long.
Okay, if there's no objection by general consent, we'll suspend the rules in order to take up item 9.5 at this time. Hearing no objection, we have a motion by Councilor Mercier, is a second by Councilor Leary. Councilor Mercier. We request that the city manager find ways and means to honor our Gold Star families with a plaque on a memorial stone at Blue Star Park.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Usually, I like to let the person that signed up ready to speak first, but in this case, I'll segue the speaker into the remarks that I make. Bonnie Deneen will put the frosting on the cake, so to speak, with this motion. This request not only came to me to present as a motion, but it arrived at the Board of Parks as well, who ultimately supported this proposal unanimously. Usually, we make the motion and we send it over there, but it went over there, and I'm just bringing it back over here. This motion is a request to find ways and means to honor our Gold Star families with a plaque on a memorial granite stone at the Blue Star Park. For my colleagues to support this motion would be a sign of unity and respect for all the Gold Star families that have been faced with tragedy. Veterans throughout the years have paid the ultimate sacrifice to preserve our rights and freedoms, but the veterans' families endured much sacrifices of their own, and this would be a tribute to all the veterans' families. This is probably the first of its kind in this city, and perhaps the first of its kind in other communities. This memorial would say, thank you for the pain and sacrifices that you have paid as well. And I'd like to present to you Bonnie Deneen. She's a member of the Lowell Garden Club, registered to speak.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Kennedy, City Manager Murphy, councilors, and guests. My name is Bonnie Deneen. I'm the president of Curbs and Cobblestones Garden Club, the past president of the former Lowell Garden Club, and a board member of the National Garden Clubs Incorporated. My purpose in addressing the council is to seek support for our Garden Club initiative to honor those who have served our country. National Garden Clubs, NGC, is comprised of over 200,000 volunteer members and approximately 6,000 federated garden clubs, of which 189 are in Massachusetts. National Garden Clubs is not just a green thumb organization. Our overall mission is to serve the community and to educate. One of the most successful programs is to honor those who have served our country with the initiation of the Blue Star Memorial Highway System. The United States Blue Star became an icon in World War II and was seen on flags and banners in homes, in churches, and businesses for our sons and daughters that were deployed. The flag included a blue star for every immediate family member serving in the armed forces during any period of war or hostilities. This action remains active to the present day, and it is a fitting tribute to our armed forces. In 1944, the New Jersey Federation of Garden Clubs, the Garden State, planted 8,000 dogwoods trees along the highways as a living memorial to the veterans of World War II. In 1945, the National Garden Clubs adopted this program and began the Blue Star Highway system that covered thousands of miles across the United States, Alaska, and Hawaii. And not all states can plant dogwood trees. So the National Garden Clubs then designed a very large bronze plaque with a blue star, which would signify a Blue Star Memorial Highway. The present-day NGC's Blue Star Memorial program has expanded from not only honoring the veterans of World War II, but it also includes all the men and women who have served, who are serving, and who will in the future serve our armed forces of the United States. The National Garden Club's Blue Star Highway program burst its seams into popularity in the 1950s and the 60s. The demand for smaller bronze plaques used as memorial markers for byway and highway added to the inventory and installed by garden clubs at locations such as national cemeteries, parks, veterans facilities, crossroads, and public gardens. In 2010, I stood before you and requested your support for my garden club's objective to erect and dedicate a Blue Star Memorial Highway marker and garden at the intersection of 110 and the Bridge Street Bridge. Our request was granted, and the Blue Star Highway marker and garden was dedicated in 2012. Lowell is now the home to the second Blue Star Highway marker in Massachusetts. The first is erected in Sturbridge on Interstate 84. Lowell's Blue Star Highway marker and garden would not have been realized without the strong support of the City Council under the former mayors of Jim Milanazzo, Rita Mercier, and Rodney Elliott, and importantly, Commissioner Tom Bellegarde and the Parks Department. Our garden club members have also worked with public and private businesses, veterans, neighborhood councils, and organizations to make the project a reality. To this day, we remain deeply and humbly grateful for the help and support we received. As with any project, it begins with an idea or a dream, and it has to have a sustainable plan. And a successful plan has to incorporate maintenance and the possibility of growth. I now ask for your continued support for the next phase of our memorial garden. Our garden club would like to incorporate a Gold Star marker within the Blue Star Garden. The military significance of the known Gold Star mothers and now Gold Star family is a venerated status that no one wants or should desire. The Gold Star family The Gold Star family is a modern reference that comes from the United States Blue Star Flag Service. Sadly, if a soldier dies when deployed, the Blue Star was replaced with a Gold Star. This allowed members of the community to know the price the family has paid for the cost of our freedom. Our garden club would like to honor our city's Gold Star families by erecting an 18 by 24-inch Gold Star bronze plaque inserted into a 3-foot-tall granite stone to read, Gold Star Memorial Marker, a tribute to all the Gold Star families whose loved one paid the price, defending the United States of America, honor, hope, and healing. Also incorporated within the landscape design, the memorial will be surrounded by a variety of plants telling the story in the language of flowers. To name a few, geranium for honor, sage for wisdom, borage for courage, salvia for I'm thinking of you, thyme for strength, sedum for hope, and yarrow for healing. Interspersed among the plants will be smaller rocks, each engraved with a word that is significant to our armed forces: duty, courage, honor, freedom, integrity, and peace. If our garden club initiative is supported, Lowell will be the first city in Massachusetts to honor Gold Star families with a National Garden Club Gold Star Memorial marker, and the 5th in the country. And as to my knowledge, there's no significant Gold Star memorial that exists in this city. Our garden club has a proud military heritage. Our oldest member is one of the first women to serve in the United States Marines. Some of our members have proudly served our country in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, the Bosnia conflict, and in Iraq and the Afghanistan wars. A member was distinguished by receiving 2 Bronze Stars for valor in 2 separate campaigns. We have 3 career military, and 2 of our members have given the ultimate sacrifice of our freedom, for they are Gold Star families. In closing, I hope I have encouraged you to support our initiative. I leave you with this thought. The strength of our nation is our military. The strength of our military is our soldiers. The strength of our soldiers are our families, and the United States Armed Forces recognizes that no one has given more for the nation than the families of the fallen. Blessed are the Gold Star families. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Council Mercy.
Thank you. That was well said, and I want to thank you very much for bringing that motion forward. Thank you very much. If I could have a roll call vote on this particular motion, thank you.
Clerk will call the roll.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you. All right, being shortly after 7 o'clock, we'll move on to 3 public hearings that we have this evening. And the first public hearing is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances in the City of Lowell, Massachusetts with respect to Chapter 167, Hawkers and Peddlers, by adding a new section, Section 167-7, entitled Mobile Food Vendors. Before we open up the hearing, I think the manager would just like to just explain what this ordinance would do. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, contrary to the belief of some people, we're not trying to ban food trucks in the city of Lowell. We're doing the exact opposite. What we're doing is, under this ordinance, is we're expanding locations where food trucks may operate. Right now, in the city of Lowell, food trucks are banned from operating in the central business district, the area surrounding LaLasha Ballpark, the area surrounding the Songus Arena, and the area surrounding the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. We just thought that, food trucks are the in thing, and people are looking to this as an alternative for their dining needs. And they're very popular, especially among the younger college students. So we felt that we should promote food trucks in the city of Lowell, and we should lift some of the restrictions so that we can attract people to the city of Lowell with the food trucks operating. So the ordinance that it is before you this evening still maintains the prohibition in the central business district. We did that relative to the restaurants that are located in downtown Lowell. But we lifted the restrictions from the LaLasha Ballpark, the Songus Arena, and the Memorial Auditorium. So food trucks are going to be allowed in those areas and other areas around the city of Lowell except the central business district. As a matter of fact, I see a food truck all the time up on Jackson Street right now that's servicing the area there. So I think it's a great idea. With that said, it's up to the city council whether you want to have the food trucks throughout the city of Lowell without any restriction whatsoever. But the only reason we kept in the restriction on the central business district was keeping in mind the brick and mortar restaurants that were in downtown Lowell. But I really don't have an opinion one way or another whether that is the most advisable thing to do. But we're not banning food trucks in Lowell. We're expanding the right of food trucks to locate in the city of Lowell. Thank you.
Okay, we'll open up the public hearing for those that wish to speak in favor. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor?
Good evening. I'm Allison Lamy. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Lowell, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development in favor of the ordinances in front of you. As the manager mentioned, like many urban areas, we are seeing a growing interest from the mobile food industry in locating in the city. An ordinance was adopted in 1988 governing temporary vendors, and this ordinance, however, does not adequately address the current needs that we see of the mobile food industry. And as the manager mentioned, it restricts vendors from downtown and a lot of close to our event venues. So the intent of the new ordinance is just to clarify the types of mobile food vendors, expand the locations, as the manager mentioned, as well as expand the times that they may operate, and provide some guidance to vendors as to where they can locate and what the permitting process is for that. With some specific procedures in place, with this new ordinance, we can more aggressively promote Lowell as a place that's friendly and welcoming to food trucks, and help grow the city's reputation as a destination city. So we thank you for your anticipated support.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? Wishing to speak in favor?
Hi, I'm Mindy Doppler-Nelson, and I'm a public health scientist, resident of Lowell as well. And I'm in support of having the expansion of the food trucks as well, but I think that it doesn't go far enough. I don't understand the restriction for downtown food trucks when you live in a food desert, as some of the pockets of Lowell are. A food desert is where people don't have access to food, and food trucks are sometimes more affordable than some of the downtown restaurants. And for somebody who lacks the ability, maybe the physical ability to do cooking, the food trucks could be a viable alternative for them rather than relying on something like a mobile food pantry. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up to those who wish to speak in opposition. Or is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition?
Good evening. My name is Joe Quinn. My father and I own the 2 Jimmy John's locations here in Lowell. I want to start by saying I'm sweaty. I had to rush here from work and have chicken scratch here. I just found out about this late last night. I'm speaking on behalf of Jimmy John's downtown, on behalf of Bishop's as well, who Chuck, he was unable to be here. So we opened our first location July of last year, and we also were so invested in Lowell that we opened our second location just in May on the UMass Lowell campus. So we're very excited that the kids are back now, despite the traffic. I'm sorry about that. I'll start with saying that I love food trucks. I spent 12 years in Charleston, South Carolina. 5 of those years were full of food trucks. I lived right downtown Charleston. It was absolutely awesome being in college there. I've spent time in Austin, Texas, and they have a food truck business that is absolutely flourishing. I have friends that still live there, talk about it every day. They think Jimmy John should get a food truck. So both of these cities share a common trait, and they have booming economies and booming restaurant scenes. Like the previous speaker just said, we kind of have a food desert. According to some people's opinions, I would beg to differ as of right now. But Lowell is not Austin, it is not Charleston yet, unfortunately. I'd love to see food trucks in Lowell, downtown Lowell, in front of the ballparks, everywhere. But I believe it's just way too soon. Until our downtown is flourishing, until our outer areas are flourishing, how can we bring in food trucks and take away business from anybody, downtown, outside of downtown, wherever? 1 or 2 of the city councilors have said in the one article I was able to read in the past 12 hours about this that competition is competition. I love competition. Competition is opening a Jimmy John's a block away from a Subway. I love competition. Bringing in food trucks downtown or other places in Lowell is not competition. It's mobile competition, and it's unfair competition. We chose downtown Lowell, and we have to struggle through the slow times. We love the busy times. We love the conventions. We love folk fests. We love the 9-to-5ers that work there day in, day out. Weekends are slow. Food trucks, they're not going to be limited by our restrictions. We're brick and mortar. We stay there during the slow times. We're open 7 days a week, 9 a.m. till 10 p.m. downtown until 11 p.m. At our new location. You're not going to see food trucks downtown on a slow Sunday. And if we see food trucks downtown or anywhere in front of the baseball park, which may be the only business we get on a Sunday is deliveries to that baseball park, to the Songus Arena. We've delivered to Shawn Mendes and Weird Al, and it's been pretty cool getting pictures with them holding Jimmy John stuff. Food trucks are going to take away that completely, not just for Jimmy John's, but for Bishop's, for El Potro, for anyone who caters, anyone who delivers, any families of athletes who would normally walk downtown, they're not going to want to walk downtown anymore. Sorry, I need to find my place. Some of the opinion pages and the city manager just said that the food trucks are trendy or they're hip. Unfair competition is not trendy. Going out of business is not trendy. Panhandlers are not trendy. We deal with that every single day. We've had ribbon cuttings with some of you. Some of you guys are our customers, and we appreciate that. We donate to the Lowell House. We donate to Lowell High School programs and plenty of others. We hire candidates from the Lowell Communities Career Center, we don't do this to be trendy. We do this to serve our community because our community is serving us. And food trucks are not going to provide that same sense of community and support that our brick and mortar locations do. Let's see. So another article referred to Cambridge and Somerville as having food trucks. We're not Cambridge yet. We're not Somerville yet. Again, I'd love to see food trucks roaming around. I'd love for there be enough restaurants and competition that kind of supports it. They did not become what the cities are today because of food trucks. Same with Austin and Charleston. It was the other way around. They supported their brick and mortars. They built up their culture, their nightlife, and then the food trucks followed. And we're not there yet in Lowell, downtown or not. Bringing food trucks now will not revitalize downtown, will not revitalize this city. It would encourage my dad and I to just close downtown store and buy a truck, drive around, go to the Spinners Stadium, go to Tsongas Center, would have lower overhead. So these food trucks, whether it's downtown or not, they are mobile. They can cover up the empty storefronts, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to move, and you're going to see more empty storefronts downtown. And I think that's about it for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition, in opposition, in opposition, hearing none. We'll close the hearing on behalf of the opponents and open it up.
A little unfamiliar with how the process worked, may I?
Did you want to speak in opposition?
I think I was the other way, in favor of the motion.
Okay.
Too late to do that.
Go ahead.
My name is Lori Mortimer, and I actually don't live in Lowell. I live in Methuen. And I just wanted to speak in favor of the food trucks as somebody who doesn't live in Lowell, but who comes to Lowell from outside. My family has been coming here. My husband and I worked at the Cross Point Towers right after they opened. I've taught at the university. My husband's actually at the university tonight mentoring a student group there. He does that every Tuesday night. We've done stuff at the Makerspace. We've gone to baseball games. I mean, we come here. Methuen doesn't have the same kind of stuff that you have here. And I would just say, offer another opinion, which is I feel that something like food trucks would bring us in more. More would bring us in more. Less doesn't bring us in more. More brings us in more. So I'd just like to say that as somebody who comes here for cultural activities. We spend our discretionary income in Lowell, actually, more than we do in our own town. So just thought I would offer that perspective.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right, the public hearing's closed. We'll open it up to the council. What's the pleasure? Council Leahy?
Thank you. I don't know if it should go to the manager or someone from the department, but when I look at the map, and I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but where are these food trucks? Are we talking just food trucks or the carts too? Just the food trucks, right?
The carts, we're talking food trucks right now, but
Yeah.
any carts are grandfathered in under this ordinance.
So what's the ruling on, this is the way I'm looking at it. The area that we blocked off, I don't see any spot where a food truck could park for the day because we're not sacrificing parking and they can't park in a loading zone. So where is a food truck allowed to park legally? Or is that part of their permit?
What they can do is they can buy a bag, or not buy one, but rent a bag from the parking department for $10 a day. And they can put the bag on a parking meter and they can park there for the day. So they can park, they could, if we didn't restrict it in the central business district, they could park legally on Merrimack Street or Central or Middle Street.
All right, because I just don't see them parking in there anyways. But, so that would open up another question. I mean, if I could rent a bag, it'd be cheaper for me to park on the street all day. So that should be a lot more money to rent a bag to, right? I mean, that, you'd have to have 2 bags, and it should be more like $2.50 a bag. But, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be smart.
Paint
But
cans. And, but no, I mean, it's designed just for the food trucks to do that under the ordinance.
But it would be a lot more than $10 a bag, right? I would assume.
No, $10 a
All
bag.
right, see, that needs to be revisited. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I think we already restrict them by the parking, so to me, it's kind of a non-issue. They're gonna park around that area anyways, and to put them into downtown, if they're taking up a couple of spots, to be fair, it should be a lot more money than a $10 bag. Then that would kind of restrict them anyways, naturally, so by,
It's $10 per spot, so if they were taking 2, it would be 20.
I just think that that's probably part of the issue. It should be a lot more money if you're gonna run a business out of a parking spot.
Well, it's interesting you say that because this ordinance doesn't, it's a different ordinance that sets the fees, and we're looking into that pursuant to another motion of yours, so we might be able to increase the fee under that one.
Because, I mean, that would be fair. If someone wants to spend $500 for the day and think they could make it, then, you know, I'm just not for limiting the competition. I see your point, but I think maybe the answer isn't in saying this is a restricted area. The answer would be that if you're gonna be on one of these streets, obviously, at first, it would have to be a good spot. You can't just block somebody's windows or a storefront, so that would restrict. And then the fee for the day would be a lot more money. So, in essence, we're kind of having this discussion, you know, we're putting ourselves in the spotlight when we really don't need to be, but, so that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you, Councilor Elliott, then Councilor Milonazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I agree with competition as well. I believe that competition, it provides the impetus for better products, lower costs. Businesses have to keep on their toes. You know, that being said, I think each of us here knows how important a vibrant downtown is. And the vital of the success and progress of the city is a lively downtown. And we've worked tirelessly, and you and your administration have, to bring businesses downtown, to bring restaurants downtown. And to me, in my opinion, downtown restaurant owners who have made an investment, they are there when it's slow, they're there when it's busy, they're there during the festivals. I believe that they should be afforded some level of protection from businesses that will just come in and, you know, provide a service and then they'll leave. I think one of the speakers made a very good point. You're not going to see food trucks around during a very slow period. They're going to come when it's busy. So I believe, you know, we work so hard to get businesses downtown, and there is, let's face it, there is a finite amount of foot traffic at this point. We continue to try to grow people coming into the downtown, but I think the restaurants who pay taxes, who have made the investment, should be entitled to serve the businesses, the people that want to go into their business. So, but what we have to keep in mind is this lifts restrictions that are in place where food trucks probably would go more often anyway. The arena, the ballpark, and the auditorium. This is where they want to go. So to me, we're not banning. We're just regulating a little bit more to protect the downtown businesses. And I think that's very important. We talk about empty storefronts. How can we get businesses? We get them down here, and we need to help them. We're always saying we're going to help you in any way. This is one way to do it. So I'm going to support this ordinance, Mr. Manager. I think it's a step in the right direction. It has to be tweaked in the future. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's good for our downtown. It's good for our downtown businesses. And we're telling the people who have made the investment, we recognize it, and we understand that this could be an impediment to to your businesses being alive and vibrant, and we're not going to do that. So, and again, this gives the food trucks, it lifts the restrictions that are in place. So that's my point. Those are my points, and I'm going to support it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Milanazo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Overall, I do think that the ordinance is a step in the right direction. I don't think it's too early. I mean, I really think that we're at a point now where we should be attracting these types of food vendors in the downtown. I think the ordinance does expand it. I do have a concern with the restriction on in the central business district, quite honestly. And I was just wondering a couple of things. Number one, Madam Solicitor, can we make as part of the public record the emails that we received on this item so that we can have the clerk have them available as a part of the public record?
Sure, as part of this public hearing?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. And the second thing, I'm just wondering if it would make sense to amend the ordinance and to keep the restricted location D in the ordinance, but waive it for 6 months or 9 months or whatever the city manager's office, just to give it an opportunity to see if in fact it's going to have a negative effect, if in fact they are in the downtown. Maybe it should be a whole year because we want to be able to get the good weather in the spring of 2017. But I think that we should have the ability to review it after a certain amount of time. And if the businesses like, Jimmy John's or Bishop's or whatever feel like they are being hurt, I don't think they will be. I think the competition is going to be good for the downtown. But I'm just wondering if it makes sense to approve it, waive item D, restricted locations IA, for a period of time that the manager and his staff would deem to be reasonable. So that in the event that after the 6 months passes, if there's no issues, we can bring it back to the council and eliminate that provision. If there are issues, we can pull the trigger and restrict it. So, again, I'll be happy to put that in the form of a motion.
There's no motion before us at this time, so you're going to make that as a motion?
Correct.
Okay. Second that. The motion is seconded by Council Mercia. So the motion is to could you
approve the ordinance as presented, but waive D, restricted locations 1A for a period that the administration would deem to be reasonable. I can't sit here and say 6 months, 9 months, but I think that if we end up getting some issues from the brick and mortar restaurants, that we should be able to pull the trigger and say, okay, we're going to restrict it or we're not going to restrict it. I don't know if Madam Solicitor wanted to weigh in on that.
So your motion, seconded by Council Mercy, would be to allow the food trucks anywhere.
Correct.
For a certain amount of time and then revisit it after a certain time, and the city administration has a chance to assess
Correct.
What's happened.
Correct.
Okay, can we hear from the solicitor first, and then we'll take Council Mercy, Council Belanger, Council Rourke, and Council Samaras.
We can certainly make that change, and one thing that I would note, however, is that it is obviously substantive in nature, and I would recommend that the council, through the clerk, then re-advertise the ordinance and give a second opportunity for a further public hearing on the matter in the event that individuals feel that they are going to be affected by this change of the ordinance.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Council Mercia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With respect to the food trucks, on one hand, we're concerned about vendors being downtown to interfere with businesses that have paid more to establish their roots in the downtown, and yet customers want the food trucks vendors downtown to add more variety and competition. So we're scratching our head as to what to do, but I did peruse the ordinance, and I like the review, that Councilor Milanazzo said to review it after a certain amount of time to be determined, because I think it's always wise to hear if what we approved is working. I know in the downtown we're limited to parking, and if I hear that you're going to issue a bag that's going to be thrown over a meter for $10, my God, I'm going to invest in a few of those bags myself. But the thing is, parking is limited in the downtown, so I was thinking we could put all the vendor trucks at Lucy Lockham Park. That's close. We can't. Or the JFK plaza, they'd be supervised by the police to be there. I mean, I'm just offering some suggestions. And then we could issue the trucks to be out in the evening on the weekend, like Friday and Saturday, when the bars get out and they don't have a place that's open, the trucks could be there as well. So there's a combination of things that we could do. Look that over. I'm going to support the ordinance, but, you know, I think competition is healthy, but I don't want to hurt businesses as well. You know, they put a lot of sacrifice, and I don't want to be tying up valuable parking spots in the downtown. That's why I suggested off the road, so to speak. And why could we not put them at JFK Plaza? What's the situation with that? Why could we not?
I'm not saying that we can't, I'm just saying from a planning standpoint, the city council passed a capital budget where we're going to replace the concrete in Lucy Larkin Parkway to make it more aesthetically pleasing. I'd hate to have the trucks riding over it and, you know, ruining the concrete just after we do it. And the JFK Plaza is, if you look at the pavers there right now, the bricks and everything, we've talked to Councilor Milanazzo, we should be repairing those pavers, not having trucks. I've already banned the city employees from coming on to JFK Plaza with the trucks unless it's an emergency. So, I mean, I think the real thing is, I think they're really going to be going to the Songus Arena.
Yes, around there would be good as well.
Because if you go to Cleveland Circle on a
Yeah,
Friday and
that's
Saturday
fine.
night in Boston, the college kids are lined up
And
for
it's further
Roxy's
enough
grilled
away
cheese.
not to hurt the businesses.
Yeah.
So this is an ordinance in support of the location. Is there going to be another ordinance that talks about price? For example, is there an annual permit fee? Well, we don't know what that is yet.
No, there are permit fees right now, but we're in the, pursuant to a motion by Councilor Leahy, we're looking into readjusting our permit fees, and obviously the $10 bag will be right on the top of the list.
Yeah, all right, that's fine.
Council Belanger.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to start with that, as of late, I'm going to say in the last 2-3 years, there's been a series of food truck festivals that have taken place on the, I guess would say, fringes of downtown, Kerouac Park, and sort of near the Songus Arena. And they have been largely successful. I am amazed how many people they attract, and many of them are from out of town. I've attended. I've seen the manager there along with many of the councilors. They have been extremely successful, and that is very good to see. So this seems to be the latest trend throughout the country, and the city is trying to catch on, which I understand. But it's, it's viewed, although I've talked to roughly a handful of downtown merchants the last couple of days, and for the most part, they don't have too many concerns. I mean, there are ones who want them allowed in the downtown, but they're not going to be allowed on the main downtown thoroughfares where there's several brick and mortar restaurants. But by a certain few, we've seen the representative from Jimmy John's here tonight. These food carts are viewed as the, I guess I would say, the Uber of the restaurant industry, where some of them feel that they may not be liable for the same regulations as a standalone brick-and-mortar restaurant who pays taxes year-round and, who fights through the slow times, and then when things get busy, they see all these food trucks popping up, and they have a legitimate concern, and it's warranted, I believe. So I think the manager was very sensitive when crafting this ordinance that to keep these food trucks on the fringes of the downtown, so brick-and-mortar restaurants aren't affected. So I think they can't pull up on Merrimack Street and pay for a meter in front of a sub shop and sit to camp out all day. That's not going to be allowed. So I think that should be reiterated. So, but I just want to make sure, Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager, that, some of the, a couple of restaurants had concerns, but they are subject to inspections from the health department, the fire department, and there'll be a permit fee, right, and all the same regulations as a standalone, correct? Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yes, it's the food trucks and the push carts will be subject to the same inspections as any brick-and-mortar restaurant, and the permitting and everything else. And the permit will expire, I believe, April 1st of each annually, so they're going to have to reapply every year. and go through the same inspection. So they'll be treated the same as a brick and mortar
And there'll be an
restaurant.
annual inspection, right?
Yes.
Because it's tough to inspect, because they're not, this won't be a business hour operation. These food carts going to be nights and weekends where there's no, so we'll have to do our best to have sanitary enforcement officers on hand to inspect these vehicles periodically. But all in all, as like you, Mr. Manager, I am extremely sensitive to the existing businesses that are down there, and we cannot create competition for them. But I don't think this does that in the way that you've crafted it. They can't camp out in the main thoroughfares, as I stated earlier, and they can be an attraction. I've seen that with my own two eyes, so I think that this can be effective to make Lowell a destination. But again, I definitely support Councilor Milonazo's, where we're going to review this in the event some of them come in and say, okay, they're hurting me. So we're going to want to hear that feedback. But as it stands right now, I'm going to support it. But it's something we're going to keep an eye to make sure that we don't hurt existing businesses. I think, to me, that is paramount. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Council Rourke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when I first read the ordinance, I was confused, I'm sure, as many people were. The way you have it crafted this, Mr. Manager, you're actually protecting those, like the gentleman that owns Jimmy John's. If we vote this down, a food truck will be able to park right in front of his business. And so, I support.
Excuse me, not necessarily, because the hawkers and peddlers license right now limits them in parking in central business district.
Wait.
So what we're really trying to do is expand it to the other areas. They still are restricted in the central business district under the existing law.
Mr. Manager, the motion that's before the council, Council Milonazo's motion, is to allow it throughout the central business district without any limitations, which would mean that they could park on Merrimack Street.
So, yeah, my question is that.
So I'm sorry, I thought you meant the existing law. No, under this motion, they would park anywhere.
Anywhere they want.
Yes.
Which I think at lunchtime and after work would cause traffic nightmares beyond belief because of the size of the trucks, even if with the parking. I understand the reason for looking at it, but I think your original ordinance, once I read it and heard your explanation and understood it, I think actually helps businesses that are in that area, and I think it also attracts people to come down and to check out different competition, as Councilor Elliott and Councilor Leahy spoke of. So I'm ready to support the ordinance as is. I can't support the amendment to the motion, but I think that the way that you originally crafted it, I would support. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Samaras.
Thank you, Mayor Kennedy. This is quite the issue. When you talk about food trucks, if you look at the food channel, which I certainly do, you can tell, food trucks have become very important. They're going to help create, I think, a new vitality in the city of Lowell. They've already done that, but I think Lowell is evolving, and this is part of that evolvement. For all intents and purposes, when you talk about Lasher Park, the auditorium, surrounding area, you're literally surrounding the center city, and it's, for all intents and purposes, you're almost there anyways. I support the ordinance, and I'm going to support Councilor Milonazo's suggestion that we give a review for the year. I do have some concerns. I mean, the concerns of the $10 a day, that does have to be looked at. And perhaps in the downtown, is there a way of allowing them into the downtown, but not necessarily in front of certain restaurants? I mean, once you've allowed it, they have access to whatever. Okay. With that, the one thing that I would have to ask for a restriction is around the high school during the school day. The high school has literally several thousand students that every hour move about the area, going from class to class. If a food truck were to be allowed to be right in that area, kids would gravitate towards that and would be very disruptive. And I found that as a problem, and we did not allow anybody to be near the school. So that's a restriction I think we have to have, because of it would cause problems. It could cause serious safety problems. So that's where I'm at. I mean, this is not an easy issue for the downtown business people, but this is something, as Lowell is evolving, a direction we have to go in. So I will support the motion.
Council Leary.
No, thank you. I think there's two different decisions. Really take the amended motion by Councilor Malinazzo or the regular ordinance. I respect what Councilor Malinazzo is saying, because I think this is a trend and it's an area where ultimately we are going to go down and probably be a benefit to the entire community and make us a better destination community. I think, however, I think Councilor Mercer said it best, like, let's put it in specific areas. Lucy Larkin Park, for one example. We're kind of doing it off the top of our head at this point. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to vote for the manager's ordinance. I think it's a good start because it does go in front of the Latcher Park, which we haven't done before. It does do it in front of the Songus Arena, which abuts the downtown. It does connect to the university, which a large part of the folks that will be coming there will be using it. But I do think what Councilor Malinazzo said, I think I look at it in reverse. I think what he's saying is a good idea. I think we go back and take a look at it and say, are there specific areas where we could do food trucks? Hamilton Canal is a beautiful area to kind of look at that. I don't know the ins and outs, what works, what doesn't work, but we've done like festivals out there with food trucks that were very enjoyable and had a large attraction with folks. You're going to have a construction zone there, so maybe that's with a new courthouse. That might not be the most advantageous place doing it now. But I think what Councilor Malinazzo's goal is, I think we should take a look at it. I don't think we do it now because I don't think you should have a vendor sitting there in the middle of the day when we already have trouble looking for parking spots. I agree with the goal. I think we should probably be a little more cautious with it. I am going to vote, unfortunately, I can't vote for the amended motion, although I respect the goals that it's trying to achieve, because I think ultimately that's where we're going to go. I just think we need to put more thought in terms of how we actually implement where those spots may or may not go. My perfect example is when that Hamilton Canal, that area right in front where all the canals, right at that point, and that area was excellent. You've had a few festivals there that worked out. They were spectacular. I mean, they had a lot of people there. They were highly entertaining, had high quality. Maybe that's an area we take a look at, making that more of a permanent, more of a more frequent event. Again, I respect the motion, again, the amended motion. I just think we need to delay that and think about it a little more in detail. I respect the goal because I think that goal is ultimately where we want to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further discussion on this? Councilor Malinazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Picking up on what Councilor Leary just said, if we could come back in 6 months with a report from the administration as to how the ordinance as written is working, I mean, I can withdraw the motion so that we're not going to go through another advertisement and vote to approve the ordinance as presented, with the stipulation that we will do a measured response in 6 months, maybe 9 months, because when we get into the nice weather next spring, and then maybe open it up for the central business district in order to really become the Somerville or the Cambridge that I think we truly are at the cusp of becoming. So I'd be happy to withdraw the amended motion and move to approve as, if procedurally I can do that as the maker of the amended motion.
You can withdraw the motion as long as the person that seconds the motion is okay with you withdrawing the motion. So you okay with withdrawing the motion? So the motion is withdrawn now. There's no motion on the floor.
I'd make a motion to approve the ordinance as written and include a provision that within a year's time or 6 months' time, that would include a report on the effectiveness of the ordinance.
Want to make that 9 months?
9 months.
9 months' time? Okay. So that's motion. That's seconded by Council Leary. Council Leahy.
Sure. Thank you. I can live with that. I like the original proposal. When I look at the restricted area in yellow, I understand what people would like to see a food truck here and there downtown, and I only see maybe a couple of streets that it's going to work on. So, I mean, your proposal is good. It's bringing in more vendors, more competition, everything. So when we review this in 9 months, I'd like to see a couple of streets downtown where it would work, and we'd be able to get it down. Obviously, you can't put it on certain streets. It just doesn't work. So by the law of nature, it's going to restrict itself. So I'm going to vote for the original proposal. I think it is bringing in more competition around, but I would like to review it in the 9 months for a couple of streets downtown.
Okay. Any further discussion? So just so that there's clarity, the motion before us is to support the manager's proposal and to review it in 9 months' time. Roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next public hearing is an ordinance to create two new full-time grant-funded positions, one as the a financial assistant and an assistant career center manager, and establish salaries in the career center division of the manager's office. We'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor. Does anybody want to speak in favor?
Good evening. My name is Shannon Norton-Callis. I'm the Executive Director at the Career Center, and I would appreciate your support for these positions. This reconfiguration will save the Career Center over $50,000 a year in our annual budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor, in favor, in favor. Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up for those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition, in opposition, in opposition. Hearing none, we'll close the hearing for the opponents and open it up to the council. We have a motion approved by Councilor Mercia. Is there a second on the motion? Second by Councilor Elliott. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
The third public hearing is an ordinance creating one full-time grant-funded position entitled Massachusetts Opiate Abuse Prevention Collaborative Coalition Coordinator, and establishing the salary and deleting two positions entitled Outreach Worker and their salaries, therefore, in the Health and Human Services Department. We'll open up the hearing for those who wish to speak in favor.
Good evening, I'm Karen Vigru. I'm the Director of the Health and Human Services Department, and I would like to speak in favor of the ordinance to create the MOPSI Coalition Coordinator position. Essentially, what we've done is to consolidate two lower-level positions in order to attract a more qualified and experienced individual to oversee this grant from the Mass Department of Public Health. This is a critical position not only for the city of Lowell, but also for the 6 communities that fall under the jurisdiction of this grant. And the city has had this grant since 2013. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor, in favor, in favor. Hearing none, we'll close the hearing on behalf of the proponents and open it up to those who wish to speak in opposition. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in opposition? In opposition? Opposition, opposition. Hearing none, we'll close the hearing for the opponents and open it up to the council. Do we have a motion on the floor by Councilor Rourke? Motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Samaras. Discussion on the motion, Councilor Belanger.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am struggling with this. You know, we're all aware of the numbers with this opiate crisis, and they are worsening. We pretty much have already matched all of calendar year 2015's opiate overdose deaths in just 7 or 8 months in this calendar year. And things are not trending in the right direction. So I am struggling with the logic that we're eliminating 2 full-time outreach workers with 1 MOPSI employee. I understand it's grant-funded, and that's great, but that serves 7 communities. So I'm having difficulty with this. So, Mr. Mayor, through you, if Karen can please come up to the podium and see where the advantage is here. I'm just not seeing it. I don't know if I can support this. I really don't. The way things are going in the city, I know many individuals are working very, very hard. Lowell is doing a lot on this issue, but unfortunately, I wish I had statistics that showed a positive note, Mr. Mayor, so I'd like to hear an explanation. Thank you.
I agree. Certainly, we are in the midst of a crisis, not only here in Lowell, but throughout our state and the country. What you don't know is that we did post the positions, the 2 positions, twice. We went through 2 rounds of interviews, and we could not attract a qualified candidate that had the experience that is needed to guide this project. And so after discussing it with HR, city manager, our state, the Mass DPW, DPH, and looking at what we could do, we decided to increase the salary, increase the requirements of the position, and put it into one so that we could attract someone that is able to lead this coalition. The candidates that we were seeing, because it was a lower level position, were straight out of school, and we just didn't feel like they would be able to take a leadership role, to be able to facilitate the coalition of not only Lowell, but the 6 communities that surround us.
Mr. Manager?
Yeah, just to add to that is, as you know, as being the chairperson of the opiate task force, is that what we're looking to do is we're looking to hire somebody that is going to coordinate the activities just for the city of Lowell. And the police department has applied for a grant to fund that position, and we should be hearing by the end of September whether the police have received the grant to fund that position of a person that would coordinate just the Lowell. And you have my word that even if we don't have the grant, it's important enough to us to find that money within the budget to hire somebody just to coordinate the Lowell activities relative to substance abuse. So in the long run, we'll really be adding another position, so you'll have 2 quality individuals that are leading the fight against substance abuse. So you have my word that we will increase the positions in the future to fight the opiate problem.
Well, thank you, Karen, and thank you, Mr. Manager. It's very encouraging to hear that. But so you basically you're saying you're seeking grants for that, I guess that was so-called point person that we've been talking about on this floor and the substance abuse task force. But there's no guarantees, as we know, Mr. Manager.
Oh, no, but rest assured, if we don't get the grant, we will find the money in the budget elsewhere to fund that position. It's that important and that critical to do.
Okay,
You have my word.
Mr.
we'll
Manager,
get
I
that.
trust your word 100%. There's no 2 ways about it, but I just can't support eliminating 2 full-time outreach workers, which are absolutely crucial. I mean, between $35,000 and $40,000, and there's no one out there, I don't understand. So I'm afraid I can't support this, but I am not questioning anybody's commitment to this issue whatsoever. And I know, Mr. Manager, you are deeply committed. I know that firsthand, but I can't support this. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Counsel. Counsel Leary?
I appreciate Councilor Belanger's thoughts on it. I think the important part is that we be effective with it. And I think I trust you, Mr. Manager, in terms of making this judgment that if we don't have the qualified people, we don't want to just have numbers and not be effective. So if we're going to be paying more, sometimes you do pay for what you get for. So we need to have results. And having the additional position through the police department, I think that, and your commitment to bringing that forward in the budget, I think is a positive thing. So I'm definitely going to support it. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Counsellor Elliott?
Just a question. Can you tell, to the director, Karen, tell me what these outreach workers do? What's the job description or the responsibilities that we're deleting?
So the outreach workers were doing more of the street kind of outreach, but that is only one of the deliverables that the state has for that project. The position really is supposed to be the facilitator of the region, so that's Lowell and the 6 communities around us. And that's a higher function. It's about planning and coordinating not only at Lowell activities, but what's happening in those other communities as well. And the outreach workers were doing more like the day-to-day street work, but the grant calls for a facilitator of a regional process that includes planning, strategic planning, logic modeling. It's a different kind of position.
Okay. Excuse me, thank you. That's helpful. Mr. Manager, I'm going to support your recommendation for this reason. This epidemic, nobody has found the perfect mold to try to solve the problem, because it's not just one particular variable that you can address. So we do have outreach workers. I don't want people at home to say, oh, guess what, we're not going out on the street. we partner with UTEC and Lowell General Hospital, and there are many entities that are out there doing outreach. I think it's important to have someone, and if you posted it twice and you didn't get qualified candidates, we're not going to hire someone that's not qualified and essentially have a rudderless ship that we don't know what direction we're going in, because we'll be asking you, why, Mr. Manager, why do we seem to be chasing our tail all the time? So I think it makes sense to hire someone qualified who's able to perform as the state is requiring us and asking us to do. I think this is such a new territory and you need forward thinkers on how to address this, and that's through strategic planning and coordination with, this is not just Lowell, and I think that's why the grant is focused in this manner, that it's a geographic area that we're looking at, and you need a person who's capable of working with many entities and come in with a plan on how to address it. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, appreciate it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
No.
No.
No. Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
8 yeas.
That concludes the public hearings for this evening. We return to the agenda. Item 3.2 is a communication from the city manager to accept the resignation of Ryan P. Kilday from the Pollard Board of Library Trustees. Do we have a motion to accept the communication placed on file by Council Rourke, seconded by Councilor Samaras? Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a communication to reappoint Van Peck and Dennis McCarthy as an alternate member to the Board of Appeals. Do we have a motion approved by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Rourke? Discussion, all in favor, roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is a communication from the city manager requesting out-of-state travel for one MIS person, 5 Lowell Police Department personnel, and 1 Career Center person. Do we have a motion approved by Councilor Leary, seconded by Councilor Rourke? Discussion? Roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is vote authorizing the city manager to file special legislation creating or making the deputy superintendent of police a non-civil service position. And if there's no objection, we'll do this, the second reading, authorizing the filing of the special legislation relative to the appointment of a non-civil service deputy superintendent of police in the city of Lowell. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Elliott, seconded by Council Belanger. Discussion, roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to accept a gift of $300 from the Labor's International Union of North America, Local 429, of $300 for the use by the Lowell Police Department in support of the Lowell Police Department's community program. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and do the second readings, authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a gift from the Labor's International Union of North America, Local 429, of $300 for use by the City of Lowell Police Department in support of the Lowell Police Department's community programs. We have a motion to approve by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion. Roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger. Yes. Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next, we have a vote to apply, accept, and expend a MassWorks grant authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell, acting through the Department of Planning and Development, to apply for, to accept, and to expend funds from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts MassWorks Infrastructure Program through the Executive Office of Housing and Economic Development for up to $2,207,400 in order to make infrastructure improvements to a section of Thorndike Street in support of Thorndike Exchange, a private development project proposed for 165 Thorndike Street. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading, which is authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell, acting through the Department of Planning and Development, to apply for and accept and expend funds from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts in the amount of $2,207,400. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Belanger, second by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed? I'm sorry, roll call.
Counsel Leahy.
Yes.
Counsel Leary.
Yes.
Counsel Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Milonazo.
Yes.
Counsel Rourke.
Yes.
Counsel Samaras.
Yes.
Counsel Belanger.
Yes.
Counsel Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Mr. Mayor?
Mayor, yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I had my hand up, you didn't see it.
I'm
Just-
sorry.
Just for clarification, can you let the viewers at home know and the public know what this pertains to? It's to a very important project that Mr. Salapoli's doing on Thorndike Street, so it's very imperative to that project, so if you don't
Mr.
mind.
Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, what this is this, we're applying for $2.2 million so that we can widen Thorndike Street between Highland Street and the entrance to the Gallagher Terminal. And what we're going to be doing is, right now, there's 2 lanes traveling in each direction. And if you get up to Highland Street and you're trying to take a left, I mean, the traffic is just awful because they're trying to pull over to the right. It's the 74th worst intersection in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. It's the same way traveling back the other way. If you, the 2 lanes, if you're trying to take a left into the Gallagher Terminal, you know, the traffic backs up there also. So what we're going to do is we're going to add left-hand turning lanes in both directions so that you'll have a designated left-hand turning lane for Highland Street, and you'll have a designated left-hand turning lane for the Gallagher Terminal. This will promote Mr. Lapoli's project at Thorndike Exchange because he thinks it's critical to be able to have a left-hand turn out of his development onto Thorndike Street, and this left-hand turn that we're developing, we believe will make it safe for people to make that left-hand turn. So it's a very good project to alleviate traffic on Gorham Street, on Thorndike Street as it exists right now, but also it's going to promote the Lapoli project.
Council Belanger?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, thank you. Now, in addition to all of that, as you come down Highland Street, going towards the connector, a left-hand turn is prohibited, and the connector's right there. It's almost a teaser, as I'm told by many of the neighborhood residents, but you have to you can only take a right. So that will alleviate that problem, too. That will allow the left-hand turn so you can access the highway, too, correct?
Correct. You will now be able to, when we complete this, you'll be able to take the left-hand turn onto Thorndike Street.
Excellent. I think that's a big plus for that neighborhood. Morning commuters, especially accessing the highway. Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Already had one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Next, moving on, we have item 4.4.
Mayor, can we make a motion to take the ad hoc subcommittee 7.1 out of order so we can compromise 4.4 and 6.1? The ad hoc subcommittee had specific recommendations to both of those items that we wanted. We could probably take it all at the same time.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll suspend the rules to take item 7.1 out of order at the same time and do it concurrently with 4.4. And that's the subcommittee reports. The first subcommittee report is ad hoc subcommittee for the charter and election issues of September 6, 2016. Council Leary.
Okay, briefly, there was 3 items at the ad hoc subcommittee that took place. There was the motion by yourself, Mayor, regarding the salary increases for the city council as well as the school committee, and 2 motions by Councilor Mercier relative to the signatures moving from 50 to 150, as well as looking at the number of preliminary folks you would have to create a preliminary election. In attendance at the subcommittee, there was the entire city council and administration, so it was well attended. And the ad hoc subcommittee did have review and discuss all 3 motions, as did many of the council members speak out in regards to the specific motions. And I'll take up the 4.4 first. That was a motion made by City Councilor Mercier and seconded by Councilor Samaras in regards to requesting a petition to have a home rule petition go before the state legislature to move the signatures for to be on the ballot for both the city council and the school committee from 50 to 150. That motion also asked specifically for a public hearing to take place, hopefully on September 27th, so the public could weigh in, and ultimately the council can make a decision on whether or not they want to make that adjustment or some alternative. So that was a form of a motion, and I guess I make that as a form of a motion to make that recommendation to the council to request a public hearing, hopefully on the 27th, to entertain moving the signatures to get on the ballot for city council and school committee from 50 to 150. This would take place in obviously the next election, because that's when you would need signatures. But it also would have to be approved by the state legislature in order to do that. So make that in the form of a motion.
All right, just so that I'm clear, the two matters that the subcommittee dealt with, one had to do with the salaries for the school committee.
Correct, and that was, for some reason, that's number 6.1 on the list. We'll take that up right after.
Okay.
Somehow the ordinances got before the subcommittee, and there were specific recommendations. Now, obviously, the council could say, we don't want to take it up at all, or we don't want to go to a public hearing, but the recommendations from the ad hoc subcommittee were to go to a public hearing, to allow public input into having that potential change.
Okay, so the first motion, I guess, which would be which is recommended by your subcommittee, is to petition the state legislature for the authority to increase the number of signatures qualified to vote for a candidate of said office from 50 to 150.
Correct.
That's the first recommendation. And
Correct.
so, and that has to be read twice in order for that to happen, and so there'll be a vote. So if there's no objection, we'd waive the full first reading on that. Go ahead. Yep.
Mr. Mayor, but I think the councilors wants this vote to go to a public hearing?
Correct.
As well?
That's what that's the recommendation. The council may have, as a body, may have an alternative opinion, but that was the recommendation from the ad hoc subcommittee to the full city council.
To send it to a public hearing first, both matters?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so then let's just do with that, and then we'll just hold this 4.4 off, then, right? Okay.
Okay.
We have the matter referred to a public hearing for 9/27.
Correct.
Okay, so your motion is to refer the matter to a public hearing on September 27th?
Correct.
Both matters?
Yep.
Okay, and that's seconded by Council Rook. Discussion on that? All in favor? All opposed? So voted. And so that puts off for discussion items 4.4 and item 6.1.
6.1 is an ordinance, it's going to go to a public
Yeah,
hearing.
it's got to go to a
anyway.
public, okay. So I guess we have to take, we already took up 6.1 in essence, but I guess just to do the minutes on it, ultimately, it was discussed specifically regarding to have an increase for the city council and the school committee, and ultimately the mayor. The discussion revolved around not this particular sitting elected officials. It would, if passed, if decided the council wanted to make any decisions on any particular salary increases, it would be for the council coming in 2018. So it wouldn't be this council. And it would go to a public hearing, so the public could obviously weigh in on that. So the vote would actually be taking place on the 27th. Thank you.
Okay, so we've sent both those matters to the public hearing already for the 27th, right? So,
We haven't voted on the ordinance yet, that's, the ordinance is coming up.
okay. That's different from the subcommittee, from the council voting to send it to a public hearing on the 27th?
No, but it just hasn't, we haven't got to the
Okay,
agenda.
all right, okay. Any further discussion on
Yeah,
this?
put information, Mr. Mayor. I don't know what's going on here. There was a,
The way the matters are on.
there's an item on the agenda for a vote, and then we have a subcommittee report.
Yes.
So, one, there is a vote, so we're not taking up the vote. I'm confused.
Okay. There's three matters on the agenda, and maybe they're not in proper sequence, but that's the way they are on the agenda. So the matter of increasing the signatures from 50 to 150, that has to go to the state legislature for approval. That's not something that we're able to do by ourselves. It doesn't have to go to a public hearing, but the subcommittee has recommended that it go to a public hearing, and the council just took a vote to send it to a public hearing. So the way I see it, then that puts off the vote on increasing it from 50 to 150 for the time being, because why would we want to, what would be the point of doing the public hearing if we did that first already?
Right, I was with you on, up to that
The
point.
second matter, 6.1, is an ordinance change to increase the salary for the city council, the mayor, and the school committee members. That would have to be, would be referred to a public hearing on September 27th at 7 p.m. And that, it needs a first reading at that time. However, the subcommittee has recommended that that be sent to a public hearing anyways already, and the council has already taken a vote to do that as well. So
When did we take that vote?
we just did all in favor, all opposed on it. Oh, no, we didn't. Did we take that vote?
Oh, actually, point of clarification, we didn't take the vote regarding, we only took the vote regarding the signatures. So we need to take a vote regarding the recommendation from the ad hoc subcommittee to go to a public hearing to discuss the salary increases for the mayor, city council, and
Okay.
school committee. So
All right.
Councilor, it is right, we didn't take a specific vote to actually do that at this point.
Okay, so
we need to do that.
we're all a little confused, because I
No
thought we were
worries, you
just
know, it's-
sending all the recommendations.
It's gotta be the food truck thing.
The ordinance will go as a matter of course, it's gonna go to a public hearing anyway. The vote is a different procedure that the body has elected to go forward on. Instead of voting on it tonight, they want public input, so they went to a public hearing, and I suppose if it prevails at the public hearing, then it will get sent, a petition will get sent to the legislature.
If that's, again, to clarify, that's the signatures. The issue where we do control would be which we haven't voted on, is the ordinance that we need to go to public hearing for the pay raises. I think that's what
That does not have to go to the legislature as a petition.
Correct, correct.
Okay, so you're thinking that we didn't do both of those, we just did one?
We just did one. That's my interpretation. I don't know if Councilor Elliott, if you agree or not, but that's
So
how I
let's-
thought of it.
Let's just continue with the agenda, and I think it'll be okay if that's, if there's no problem with that. So, item 4.4, I'm sorry.
We didn't take a vote on the second recommendation from the city.
All right, well,
Right?
we can do that if you would like. I'm just suggesting that you were the one that said that you were confused in the first place. So
Well,
I just-
where else is it coming up on the agenda, I should ask then?
What do we-
Item 6.1?
Item 6.1.
And that's what we're going to take it up?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good, thank you.
All right.
But we did, I thought we took 7 point, okay, let's just move forward.
Let's just
Be fine.
plow through this,
Okay.
and hopefully we'll be done before 10. All right, so item 4.4 is a vote to petition the legislature for authority to increase the number of signatures qualified to vote for a candidate for said office from 50 to 150. Chair would entertain a motion to delay action on that vote until September 27th. We have
Right, yes.
motion to delay action by Council Mercy, second by Council Larry. Discussion on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. All right, now let's just stick with the regular agenda. We'll get to the raise in a second. We have a vote to transfer $20,000 to the Fund Education and Overtime for Enforcement Development Services. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading to transfer $20,000 to Fund Education and Overtime for Enforcement in the Division of Development Services. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Rourke, second by Council Samaras. Any discussion? Roll call.
Council Leahy?
Yes.
Council Leary?
Yes.
Council Mercia?
Yes.
Council Milonazo?
Yes.
Council Rourke?
Yes.
Council Samaras?
Yes.
Council Belanger?
Yes.
Council Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next is vote to transfer $40,000 to fund ammunition for the police department. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the second reading to transfer $40,000 for funding ammunition in the police department. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Elliott. Council Rourke.
I can shoot to the manager. Mr. Manager, have they run out of bullets?
This is for training. We have a lot of new recruits, and so we've used a lot of ammunition, so we need to buy some more.
Thank you.
Council Elliott.
It's somewhat unrelated, but, Mr. Manager, tasers, I know motions have been brought in to approve tasers. It's not related to ammunition, I understand this, and thank you for the liberty, Mr. Mayor. Can you get us a report on what the status of that is? Are they on the street?
Oh, yes.
We bought them? Okay.
Yes, the
That'll-
tasers have been implemented, and one's been used already in a very difficult situation.
Okay.
And it saved possible injury to a police officer, and it was used very successfully.
I know this is not related to this, so I'll follow the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call.
Council Leahy?
Yes.
Council Leary?
Yes.
Council Mercia?
Yes.
Council Milonazo?
Yes.
Council Rourke?
Yes.
Council Samaras?
Yes.
Council Belanger?
Yes.
Council Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy?
Yes.
9 yeas.
The next item, 4.7, is vote authorizing the manager to accept, in the name and on behalf of the city of Lowell, to accept deeds of certain parcels of land at 44 YMCA Drive, at 44.1 YMCA Drive, at 44.2 YMCA Drive, at 34.1 Robinson Street, at 2 Lowell Connector, at 71 YMCA Drive, at 28 YMCA Drive, at 28.1 YMCA Drive, and 28.2 YMCA Drive, collectively the acquisition properties.
Move approval.
Okay, if there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading, just go to the second reading, authorizing the city manager to take all of those properties collectively as the acquisition properties. We have a motion approved by Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Roll call.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Kennedy.
Yes.
9 yeas.
Next on orders from the city manager, we order a 60-day trial at various locations. If there's no objection, we'll waive the first reading and go to the second reading, which is to order a 60-day trial for various locations. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion approved by Council Milonazo, seconded by Council Rourke. Discussion on the motion, roll call.
Council Leahy.
Yes.
Council Leary.
Yes.
Council Mercia.
Yes.
Council Milonazo.
Yes.
Council Rourke.
Yes.
Council Samaras.
Yes.
Council Belanger.
Yes.
Council Elliott.
Yes.
The next item is an ordinance to increase the salary of the city council, the mayor, and the school committee members. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading, go to the second reading, which is an ordinance to increase the salary of the city council, the mayor, and the school committee members. The chair would entertain a motion to refer to a public hearing on September 27, 2016 at 7 p.m. Do we have a motion to that effect by Councilor Leary, seconded by Councilor Milonazo? Discussion on the motion, Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I know this is going to a public hearing, and I'm not going to support sending it to a public hearing. I personally don't think that money is the factor that motivates anyone to run for this office. And to me increasing the salary just doesn't feel right. I do believe the position does have value. And maybe there's a better way to adjust the salary for cost of living increases, but I don't believe this is the way to do it. I do believe people will run for office, and we run for many reasons, whether it's neighborhood interest, whether we want to bring change, want to be a voice of the community, or many other reasons. I believe that money is just not one of those attractions. We all work hard. That's why we sign up for it each and every election. We know the hundreds of hours we will spend going to meetings, listening to constituents, responding to phone calls, emails. It takes time away from our family. Some of us work, we take vacation time to be a city council, but we know that's what's expected. To me, this is a seat, it's a seat of honor that carries with it boundless responsibility, time, and commitment. It's never been a burden, and it's just important for me to be involved and all of us to be involved with our city. We also have boards that give hundreds, members of boards and commissioners give hundreds of hours for little and sometimes no compensation. I understand the effort behind it is to get more people involved. I think it is important to do that. For me, I love being a voice of the people. To me, each time I walk into this chamber, it's an incredible experience to sit in this chamber. This is one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had in my life. It's not always easy. It's not always fun to be scrutinized by people, but at the end of the day, every once in a while, we get a chance to make a big difference in the life of one or more people, and that's the reward. Sometimes we get a chance to put forth initiatives that will change the course of our history or create change for the betterment of people. And at those moments, you know, everyone sitting here, you feel you've done your job, and no level of compensation can provide that feeling. So I understand the premise behind this, but I'm not going to support to send it to a subcommittee. I do believe that we are compensated. I think it's fair. I think we do it for the love of the job, and what we're getting right now is ample. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. So the motion is to send it to a public hearing on September 27th. The motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion? All opposed? Councilor Elliott should be recorded in opposition. All right, now to, moving on to subcommittee reports. The first is the ad hoc subcommittee for the child and election issues. I think we're all set, aren't we?
Yeah, just
Council.
report of progress, thank you.
And the second one is the Public Safety Subcommittee of September 6, 2016.
Yes, thank you. Public Safety Subcommittee met last week. Discussion was regarding amending the loan order to include security cameras as part of the Spot Shotter program. So present with myself, Council Leary, Council Rourke, Manager, Superintendent Taylor, Council Samaras, Council Belanger, Council Elliott, Council Mercia, Connor Baldwin, Ronnie Colony, and I believe it's Lieutenant Trudell from the Lowell Police Department. So basically, we had a discussion, opened up with the manager and the superintendent of police on the importance of having the cameras surveillance throughout the city. So basically, we just needed to change the loan order for the security cameras versus the Spot Shotter, which was a little bit more money, a lot more money, and we discussed the importance of the camera versus the audio of the Spot Shotter. So basically, we just heard from the chief of police and the manager. We voted to approve to change the loan order to check into the camera surveillance, and once the chief is happy with the information he gets and the products that are out there, we'll come back to talk about the cameras. So we wrapped up at, I think, 6:20. Well, we wrapped up shortly after we started, but that was the gist of the meeting. And motion, yeah, there wasn't a motion, so. Motion to Council Rourke, seconded by Council Leary, to begin the loan order process for the purchase of video equipment to be used by the Lowell Police Department throughout the city. Roll call vote was three yeas. Report of progress.
Okay, so are you looking for a motion from the full council, or is it just?
It's getting late. I need a food truck. Yes, I guess we need a motion by the full council to
Second.
approve
Okay.
the loan order.
All right, we have a motion from the subcommittee to approve a loan order, seconded by Council Leahy, seconded by Council Leary. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Chair will entertain a motion to accept both subcommittee reports as reports of progress. We have a motion by Council Leahy, seconded by Council Leary to do that. Discussion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next is a request from Comcast to install and maintain 129 feet of PVC communication conduit at 10 Technology Drive. The motion would be to accept and adopt the accompanying order. Do we have a motion to that effect? By Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. Discussion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next from the wire inspector is National Grid Verizon New England requests the installation of a pole and anchor located at 691 Stevens Street. We have a motion to, do we have a motion to accept and adopt the accompanying order? We have a motion by Council Rourke, seconded by Council Samaras. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Your Honor, just quickly
Yes.
on that. I wasn't going to vote for this, but through the manager's office, I saw that they're finally up on, National Grid and Verizon is finally up on Fruit Street and Mariner Street and the 3rd Street up there. So they're finally changing those double and triple poles, which we've been trying to get changed for probably 3 years now. So wanted to thank the manager and his staff for getting that done. Thank you.
Okay. Next, on the petitions. There are two claims, two property claims. Chair would entertain a motion referred to the Law Department for report and recommendation. We have a motion by Council Leahy, seconded by Councilor Mercia, to send it to the Law Department for report and recommendation. Discussion on the motion. All in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, under miscellaneous is a request for a towing reimbursement. Motion referred to the Law Department for a report and recommendation by Councilor Samaras, seconded by Councilor Mercia. Councilor Mercia.
This particular issue is a little bit troubling to me, and I'm not going to be saying whether this person should be reimbursed or not. I'm not here to offer a final analysis on this, but it's what brought this to this situation that is troubling to me. I made this motion many years ago, before some of my colleagues were even here, to let these petitions come before us for claims, to see just what's happening, because if there's a pattern of a hole in this pothole that everybody's falling in and suing the city, we should fix it up in a timely fashion. This particular issue was brought to our attention about a visitor coming to our city and someone, and went to a game to be an outsider coming into the city to spend disposable income to go to a Spinners game, did not know where to park, and someone said, oh yeah, go down the street and park there, which inadvertently told her to park in the wrong place. Through no fault of her own, she got towed, and that's one thing, But it's what's troubling that happened after that bothers me. She contacted the police department and numerous people to find out where did her car get towed. Nobody had the, nobody had the wherewithal to say, let me help you. This is what this city is all about. We can spend a ton of money on marketing this city, but if we have people in a position of leadership or a duty or have no compassion for anybody being, foreign into their city, an outsider, and we can't help them to say, you know what, let me go the extra mile and try to figure out where your car is. Having said that, nobody helped her. She went to numerous places and her car was nowhere to be found. So she must have got a ride and went home and come back the next day and started the process all over again. Come to find out her car was at a particular place. And because no one helped her the night before, she had to pay for additional storage of a night, where that would have been eliminated. That's troubling to me in a society where you try to go out of your way to help someone. Think about if that happened to you or you were in another city and no one wanted to help you. What is this all about? I mean, we could pass all the ordinances and laws, but I don't know how to pass public decency to people to try to be outgoing to help somebody. This lady was in trouble. Someone towed her car. All she asked for was, where's my car, so I could get it out and go home and pay the towing fine. This is troubling to me when we have a society that could care less. So that's not my problem. See you later. I work in a particular building and people come in off the street, have no business to be in our building, but they have situations and problems. I could say, oh, that's not a concern to us in this building, but I go the extra mile, and I don't know why people don't do that. That bothers me, that society is so heartless that you're on your own, lady. I mean, I don't know, and this is what this issue is all about, and it just hurt me to see something like this, but anyway, that's what I wanted to get off my chest. I wish we could be a little bit more concerned with people coming into our city. All you had to do, someone had to do, whether it be the police department, someone in the police department, help this lady. She would have been the best advertisement this city had ever seen. Gee, I went to Lowell, I got in a bad situation, someone helped me, they went out of their way. You're not gonna hear that because someone in the police department could care less. It's not my problem, or somebody else can tell you. You don't pass the buck, you try to help whoever needs help, and that's just my opinion. I'm sorry, I just had to get that off my chest, sorry.
Thank you, Counselor.
Your Honor,
Yes.
We support you in that, and thank you for bringing that up, because it is important. If someone's car gets towed at an event, we should have a pretty good knowledge of which place it goes to, who the towing company is, and you should have access to pay the fee and leave town that night that your car gets towed. So thank you for bringing this up, and I'm sure this is something we can address.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion? All opposed? So voted. Next, under miscellaneous, we have a request for the installation of a handicap parking sign at 44 Arnold Avenue. The motion would be to refer to the traffic engineer for a report and recommendation. We have a motion from Council Leahy, seconded by Council Elliott to do that. Discussion on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Next, we have National Grids requesting the installation of 5 feet of 4 feet, 4-inch conduit on William Street to service the new Middlesex Community College auditorium. If there's no objection, we'll waive the full first reading and go to the, and refer this to a public hearing on September 27th at 2:16 at 7 p.m. Do we have a motion to that effect? By Councilor Mercia, seconded by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted. Now we go on to council motions. Motion 9.1 has already been addressed, so.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Would there be no objection to bundle these motions? Or would my colleagues want to speak on?
You want to make that motion?
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion to bundle the motions. Second by Councilor Rourke. Discussion on the motion to bundle. All in favor? All opposed? So voted. That leaves us with announcements.
Yes.
Are there any announcements? Councilor Mercia.
That's why I bundle the
Mayor,
motions.
I want to speak on my motion, so.
Well, wait, why didn't you say
I
something? when
did,
you
Mr. Mayor.
I didn't hear you.
We haven't met for 3 weeks, and I understand there's still a package in.
Which motions did you want to speak on?
Particularly, request city manager look into the ordinance to regulate Airbnb room rentals in the city. And this microphone needs to be.
All right, well, so the motion's passed, so just, what do you want to say?
So, well, thank you. I will be brief because I know it's late, but Mr. Manager, I think it's important that we try to get ahead of this Airbnb bed and breakfast. I know the city of Worcester is already struggling. They're kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit, and essentially, and there's about a dozen in the city already. And just for my colleagues' own edification, it's a website that homeowners advertise on, and they advertise essentially rooms for rent. And communities, and it's primarily those communities that have universities, certainly Worcester State College, and people come and they rent just a room. But I think it's important for people to, first of all, there needs to be some regulation to ensure that there's compliance with health codes and building codes. But secondly, that people know what's going on in their neighborhoods, and that we can regulate it, that we have some input on as to what's taking place in all of our neighborhoods. More often than not, people will come in for a night or two, and it acts as somewhat of a hotel in residential neighborhoods. So I just think, if we look at what the city of Worcester is doing, and perhaps there's not a need now. If you look on their website, there's about 12 locations in the city that range from renting a room for $40 a night to some $115. So it's, I think it's going to be a growing sort of business or industry, and it's, something that we have to keep an eye on. So just if you could look into it and to see if there's something that would apply to the city, that would be appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's the only motion that I really want to speak on. The other ones can be responded to.
Okay, thank you.
Particularly the one with the complaints at the Sampson Pavilion. I know a number of us have also, we've spoken to the city manager, but the neighborhood is frustrated. We all got, emails on it. I think it's time that we work with DCR to ensure that the permit that is given is abided by and noise is kept to a minimum. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so under announcements, Council Mercia.
Thank you. That's why I bundled the motion. I have quite a few announcements. I'll try to make it fast. First, I want to thank everybody involved in the lighting of the swamp block. That was remarkable. It was the Lowell Heritage Partnership, the Lowell Convention and Visitors Bureau, the National Park Services, and the university and the city of Lowell. That was a remarkable undertaking. On Saturday, September 24th, Jarvis Lincoln will sponsor the Driven to Give event from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. All proceeds go to the Salvation Army, and we're inviting everyone to come down to Jarvis to drive a Lincoln, and that money will go to the Salvation Army. Anyone who comes down and drives a car will get free pancakes while the supply lasts, This is a very good cause, so don't forget to put Saturday, September 24th, from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. on your list to help those in need. Everything is free. Just give us some of your time. And it's that time of year again when Larry Finn will be conducting another coat drive in honor of his beloved mother called Ann Above. But this year he's added a new twist. So on September 22nd from 7 to 11 p.m., Larry will be at Cobblestones and his brother will be at the Blue Shamrock for a friendly competition to see who can take in the most money to purchase coats for the children this winter. For each $50 donation or a donation of a clean jacket, they will offer free appetizers and a drink. So bring on that competition. And this is very important to me too, because it's this week. It is going to be Saturday, September 17th, starting at 7:30. The VAV, Veterans Assisting Veterans, is going to hold an event, Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans. They're going to feature members of the Yardbirds, the Jay Giles Band. Many groups will be there. So come on down. It's at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, 50 East Merrimack Street. That's Saturday, September 17th, for our veterans. And we never really honored the veterans, Vietnam veterans. We're going to be honoring them and raise money for the veterans as well. So those are my issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just have one. The Huntington's Disease Society of America is having their annual walk this Saturday, September 17, 2016, at 10 a.m. The walk begins at the Tewksbury Hospital campus at the Saunders Building at 365 East Street. There's no registration fee. You just show up at 10 o'clock and you do the walk, which will be good for everybody. So people could do the walk at 10 o'clock out in Tewksbury and then go to the concert that evening, Council Mercier, and it would end up being a wonderful way to spend the day. And there's one more announcement, I think, by by the city manager, Mr. Manager.
Thank you. As you all know, we received a Tiger grant to repair or replace 6 bridges in the city of Lowell, and there's going to be a public information meeting next Monday evening at 6 p.m. in the Pollard Library basement conference room. And this is an opportunity for the public to come and learn what's going to happen relative to traffic and the repair or replacement of the bridges. So everybody is invited Monday evening at 6 p.m. at the Pollard Memorial Library basement conference room.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Are there any other announcements? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn by Council Rook, second by Council Samaras. All in favor, all opposed? Stand adjourned at 9:25. It's not bad.